Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The 9 reincarnations are unleashed, and the sickly villain Heroine arrives. Chapter 61. The two of them were sitting on the table, and the two of them were sitting on the table. Everyone looked at Chusichi, who was sitting on the main seat. For a moment, the atmosphere in the box changed instantly. Chusichi's eyelashes trembled slightly, and a far-fetched smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. It's okay, I'll go and notify the dishes to be served. Chusichi stood up, her petite body staggered slightly, and after walking out of the box, she leaned against the wall as if she had lost all her strength. Her eyes were slightly red, and a bitter taste filled her heart. Without the person she wanted to see, Chusichi didn't say much at the table. Chusichi, who had never drunk alcohol, ordered a bottle of wine for the first time. In the past, Chusichi would pinch her nose and hide far away when she smelled the alcohol on her father. But this time, Chusichi wanted to taste that taste. Chusichi picked up the wine glass, tilted her head and drank the spicy wine. A flame suddenly ignited in her throat, burning wantonly. Chusichi frowned tightly, enduring the burning sensation. Her face turned red, and she collapsed on the chair. Chusichi, are you okay? Du asked worriedly. Chusichi didn't speak. She wanted to cry now and wanted to numb herself with alcohol. Maybe the man she wanted to see would appear in front of her. The dinner was almost spent in a dull atmosphere. After it ended, no one left. It's okay, you go first. Chusichi lowered her head and her delicate face was flushed by the alcohol. With Chusichi's permission, and as it was getting late, some people gradually said goodbye and left. After a while, only Du, Shu Yang, Chen Nan, and Xiao Miao had not left. Woo. At this moment, Chusichi lay on the table and sobbed. Sichi is fine, maybe Shen Shucho really didn't come because of something. Shu Yang tried to defend Shen Shucho at this time. Bullshit, what can't he do that he can't come? Du shouted angrily. Shu Yang immediately didn't dare to talk, and Chen Nan on the side sent a message to Shen Shucho. Shen Shucho, I think you still need to come. Chen Nan didn't know if Shen Shucho was asleep at this time, so he could only try to send him a message. What's wrong? Fortunately, Shen Shucho came back. Chusichi cried, because of you still have to come. Shen Shucho on the other side saw this message and felt that his head was really hurting. What is Chusichi doing again? Shen Shucho covered his head and felt a little speechless. Can't Chusichi be quiet? Originally thought that Zhang Qianzhou's warning to her worked, but it was only a few days later. Her crying has nothing to do with me, you can find someone else. Shen Shucho replied expressionlessly. Chen Nan didn't know what to say when he saw this. Sichi is fine, Shen Shucho is not a good man, you will find a lot of him when you enter college. Du was still comforting Chusichi. Chusichi had drunk alcohol, and now she completely poured out the sad emotions in her heart. Crystal tears could not stop falling from her eyes, and her shoulders kept shaking. At this moment, the door of the box was suddenly pushed open. A group of people rushed in, and seeing the people coming, Du glared and said, Luo Hao, what are you doing here? Of course, it's to take Chusichi home. Luo Hao smiled. There were several lackeys following behind him. Chusichi has nothing to do with you, Mr. Luo. Get out of here. Du protected Chusichi behind him and said coldly. Get out of here, you fool. Stay out of Mr. Luo's business. Shang Zonbrong stood up and scolded. Du's eyes were blazing with anger when he saw this person. Did you tell the secret to Mr. Shang? Shang Zonbrong was in the same class with them. Although Du did not say in the group that Chusichi was having a banquet tonight, someone must have told Shang Zonbrong. So what if it was me? How can Mr. Shen be worthy of Chusichi? Mr. Luo has to do it. Shang Zonbrong looked at Luo Hao flatteringly. Mr. Luo, I don't care about you, this one or that one. Don't think about taking Chusichi away tonight. If you don't leave, I will call the police. Du warned. My father knows Chu's father, so it's not against the law to pick up Chusichi for him. But if you don't leave, don't blame me for being violent. Luo Hao showed a wicked smile. His father had talked to him once at a gathering of business tycoons, and Luo Hao was there. Although he didn't show up again a few days ago, he never forgot about Chusichi. Now is his good opportunity. Plus Chu Siqi is drunk now, she is fragile and needs a broad shoulder at this time. Luo Hao felt that that person must be him without a doubt. If he said some sweet words, Chu Siqi would be able to catch him. As soon as Luo Hao finished speaking, the younger brothers behind him immediately gathered around him. Shen Shuqiu and Luo Hao are looking for trouble and want to take Chu Siqi away. I think you will regret it later if you don't come today. Chen Nan sent the last message to Shen Shuqiu. Then he stood up and said coldly, "Why do you want to fight?" Then Xu Yang also stood up. "I have never been afraid of anyone in a fight. They are all full-blooded young men, and no one is afraid of each other at this moment." Shen Shuqiu at home sighed slightly, hesitated for a moment and decided to take a look. "Simply put on your clothes and disappear in an instant. Give it to me. I'll pay for anything you break. I'll pay for the medical expenses if you're injured," Luo Hao said generously. With these words, several losers behind him immediately swarmed up. In an instant, several people were in a mess, and Luo Hao took the opportunity to walk up to Chu Siqi. Looking at the crying girl in front of him, Luo Hao smiled softly. "Chu Siqi, I have liked you for so long, but you don't agree, but you fell in love with a poor boy. Why haha, now the boy you like is there again, where is it?" Chu Siqi was lying on the table with confused eyes, as if she had lost focus. There was a strong smell of alcohol in his mouth, and the muttering in his mouth seemed to be telling something, and seemed to be unconscious gibberish. His body was shaking constantly, as if he was fighting against the alcohol but unable to break free. "Let's go. Chu Siqi, you will fall in love with me after tonight." Luo Hao chuckled and was about to touch those soft, boneless hands. "Are you bothered?" The sound of fighting in the room stopped suddenly, and a cold voice spoke. Shen Shuqiu's figure appeared in front of everyone. He glanced at Chu Siqi, who was lying unconscious on the table. His eyes were complicated and he sighed slightly in his heart. "Kick him out," Luo Hao said coldly. After receiving the order, the dog-legged man walked towards Shen Shuqiu with a ferocious smile. Boom, boom. As soon as a few people walked into Shen Shuqiu's side, they were knocked to the ground by 3 punches and 2 kicks. This scene happened very quickly. In just one breath, Luo Hao stared at the incredible scene with wide eyes. Shen Shuqiu walked towards him expressionlessly. Luo Hao couldn't help but take a step back and said, "What do you want to do?" "My father is Luo Gang, you can't hit me." Snapped. Luo Hao felt something flash before his eyes, and the next moment he felt a burning pain on his face. "Even if your father is Deluo Jinxian, you will not be able to avoid a beating tonight." Shen Shuqiu's cold voice echoed in his ears. "You." Luo Hao covered half of his red and swollen face and glared. "Why don't you go and get ready to put on a hood and go out later?" Shen Shuqiu was indifferent. He didn't want to make things too big. "Just wait for me." A trace of fear flashed in Luo Hao's eyes, and then he put down a harsh word and led the people out of the box in embarrassment. "Are you okay?" Shen Shuqiu turned back to look at the 3 of them. Du Yu was a girl, so she was not harmed. However, both Chen Nan and Xu Yang were bruised and bruised. "It's okay. I've been rough-skinned and thick-skinned since I was a child." Xu Yang grinned broadly. "I'm fine, but Shen Shuqiu, you are really awesome." Chen Nan also said that nothing was wrong and gave Shen Shuqiu a thumbs up. "You knew you were here. Do you know how long Chu Siqi has been waiting for you, and you are such an idiot and you are trying to blackmail me." Du Yu didn't give Shen Shuqiu a good look, and now he said the words that he didn't curse at that moment. Shen Shuqiu smiled slightly and didn't care. Immediately, the 3 of them left each other knowingly, and in a blink of an eye, only Shen Shuqiu and the drunken Chu Siqi were left in the box. Looking at the bottle of 53 proof liquor on the table, Shen Shuqiu twitched his lips. People who get dizzy after just 1 can of beer would not dare to touch something like this. Fortunately, Chu Siqi filled half the bottle directly. Shen Shuqiu said speechlessly, "What an idiot. Get up and go home." Since Shen Shuqiu is here, he will naturally not let Chu Siqi stay here. He gently poked Chu Siqi with his hand. Chu Siqi snorted slightly. As if hearing Shen Shuqiu's voice, Chu Siqi's eyelashes trembled slightly like butterflies fluttering their wings. This long-remembered voice seemed to break the drunkenness, and he stood up with force. He rushed towards Shen Shuqiu as if he had found his home. Shen Shucho caught Chu Sichi and let her lie in his arms. Smelling the pungent smell of alcohol, I pinched my nose in disgust. Son. Seeing Chu Sichi who couldn't figure out where to go, Shen Shucho had no choice but to carry her out. When he walked out of the box, he immediately attracted many eyes. Shen Shucho said in his heart, "Oh no. You didn't pay, didn't you? I don't have any money." Fortunately, no one stopped him when he left Jinline Hotel. After walking out of the gate, he saw the Rolls-Royce parked not far away. Shen Shucho had no choice but to carry Chu Sichi over step by step. Chu Sichi in her arms was as dishonest as a kitten, her little hands gently stroking him. He whispered in his mouth, "Shen Shucho. You big idiot." "Aha," Shen Shucho said perfunctorily. "Whoa, porridge. You. I don't like you, please save it. Wu doesn't care. If you don't care about Wo will care about you." Chu Sichi said a little anxiously. Okay, you like it, you like it." Shen Shucho was a little embarrassed. "Your arms are so warm. Hufu." Chu Sichi shrank into her arms again, whispered and then slowly fell asleep. And Shen Shucho also sent Chu Sichi to Rolls-Royce. A housekeeper immediately got out of the car and looked at this scene in shock. Shen Shucho put Chu Sichi behind and said, "What's wrong with you? Even your eldest lady can't stand it. She doesn't even know she's been bullied inside. I'll deduct your salary next time." The housekeeper was stunned by what Shen Shucho said. "Oh, that man's name is Luo Hao, and his father's name is Luo Gang." Shen Shucho turned around and added, slowly disappearing under the neon lights of the night. The housekeeper was still shocked, and then came to the car and dialed Chu Tianshang's number. "Sorry, sir, the young lady was hugged by a man." "What the hell?" Chu Tianshang, who was working overtime in the company, answered the phone and his first sentence started. "The lady is still drunk." As soon as he finished speaking, the next sentence came to his ears immediately. "Idiot." Chu Tianshang immediately stood up and said something rude. The man also said that someone bullied the young lady. "Who?" Chu Tianshang's expression turned ugly. "There is another one named Luo Hao, Luo Gang." After the housekeeper finished speaking, Chu Tianshang's face darkened. "Sichi, are you okay?" Chu Tianshang now wants to know if his precious daughter is okay. "Miss, there's nothing wrong." Hearing this, Chu Tianshang breathed a sigh of relief. "Who is that man?" Then he asked. "I don't know. He looks very young. He seems to be the lady's classmate." "Well, take care of Sichi, I'll go home now." Chu Tianshang hung up the phone and rushed home in a hurry. In the car, Chu Tianshang made a phone call and said, "Check on these two people, Luo Gang and Luo Hao, for me." "Yes." A cold voice came from the other end of the phone. Midnight and 3 in the morning. Vomit. Chu Sichi lay in the bathroom and vomited, a pungent smell of alcohol filling the air. My stomach was churning, with bursts of tearing pain. After a while, Chu Sichi stumbled back to the room, lying on the comfortable big bed with her arms stretched out, not forgetting to hold the small Shen Shucho doll in her arms. Chu Sichi stared at the bright ceiling, trying to be clear and recalling what happened tonight. I seemed to be waiting for Shen Shucho. He didn't seem to come, but he seemed to have come. Head hurts. Chu Sichi rubbed her little head, and the memories of tonight slowly emerged. "Shen Shucho, I love you so much. Shen Wo really likes you." At this moment, Chu Sichi remembered all the memories about tonight. When Shen Shucho came, she was still held in his arms, and she even confessed to him. "Ah, Chu Sichi, what have you done?" The next moment, Chu Sichi hid herself in the warm quilt. A faint blush appeared on her cute little cheeks, like the first peach blossoms blooming in spring. The spring red color spread to the roots behind the ears, and the whole body softened, making people salivate like a ripe apple. There was a hint of panic in Chu Sichi's eyes, as if she wanted to hide the shyness that was about to come out, but she couldn't resist the beating in her heart and couldn't calm down for a long time. Does that idiot Shen Shucho dislike the smell of alcohol on his body? Chu Sichi pouted her mouth and said, "If you dare to dislike me, I will beat you to death." Chu Sichi picked up the doll with Shen Shucho written on it and punched it a few times. But after the beating, he covered himself up again, and his heart kept beating like a deer. But being held in his arms made me feel at ease. That embrace was so warm. Chu Siqi remembered the feeling of being held in Shen Shuchou's arms again. This was the second time she was held in his arms. The first time she was awake, the second time she had no consciousness at all, but the feelings brought to Chu Siqi both times were the same. It seemed that as long as you hid in his arms, you wouldn't have to worry about anything, and nothing would matter anymore. I don't know what it feels like to sleep in the same bed as Shen Shuchou. Unconsciously, Chu Siqi's thoughts were flying wildly. She came back to her senses and said quickly, Chu Siqi, what are you thinking about? Thinking of this, Chu Siqi suddenly felt hot all over, as if her strength had been drained. After calming down, Chu Siqi picked up the mobile phone beside her, opened it, found Shen Shuchou, opened the chat box, and sent out 5 words. Good night, idiot Shen. Chu Siqi threw away her phone and curled up quietly in bed. Chu Siqi didn't regret at all about her confession to Shen Shuchou tonight. Now that you have decided to fight for it, then she, Chu Siqi, would boldly confess her love. Even if she was rejected, Chu Siqi would not be discouraged at all. Come on, Chu Siqi, you are the best, you can definitely defeat idiot Shen. Chu Siqi clenched her little pink fist and kept cheering herself up. In the early morning, Sioux City did not go into rest because most people were asleep. Inside the dance club, Luo Hao was sitting at the bar drinking wine with a bored look on his face. What's wrong, Mr. Luo, why don't you order some female companions to drink with you today? The waiter behind the bar joked with a smile. In the past, Luo Hao would hire 3 or 4 female companions to drink with him whenever he came, but today it was different from usual. Not in the mood, Luo Hao drank the wine in the cup and said, Who made Mr. Luo unhappy? The waiter asked. Luo Hao didn't answer, and glanced at the group of boys with bored eyes. Seeing them all eager to get into the 2 trembling jade rabbits, I felt even more depressed. Luo Hao couldn't look down on any of these women, and none of them were as good as Chu Siqi in his heart. I thought I could build a wave of favorability in front of Chu Siqi tonight, but I never thought that Shen Shuchou would disrupt the situation. Luo Hao decided that after tonight, he must teach Shen Shuchou a profound lesson. With that said, Luo Hao headed towards the exit of the club. Staying inside would only make him more and more annoyed. Luo Hao came out of the club and bumped into a beautiful woman in palace clothes. His originally depressed eyes suddenly brightened up. The beautiful woman in front of him was such a beautiful woman that he had never seen before. Those charming eyes immediately aroused the desire in Luo Hao's heart. That charming face that could stun everyone, and that exquisite figure, every step he took seemed to be stepping on Luo Hao's heart. Luo Hao's general, Chu Siqi's figure was thrown out of the clouds, and the only thing in his eyes was the charming palace-dressed beautiful woman in front of him. What surprised Luo Hao even more was that the beautiful woman actually walked straight towards him when she saw him. My peach blossom luck has come. No, this is simply a sea of peach blossoms, and such a woman is enough to resist the women he has seen in his life. Hello, beautiful woman, which crew are you from? Luo Hao asked politely with a smile. He swallowed his saliva quietly in his throat. Hu Bai stared at Luo Hao in front of him, sniffed with the tip of his nose and then shook his head. Luo Hao was stunned by the action of the beautiful woman in front of him. Is there any peculiar smell on me? No, I take a bath frequently. This beautiful sister, do I have any smell on me? Luo Hao asked again. You are not him, Hu Bai said in a soft voice. As soon as the beautiful woman said this, Luo Hao felt that all the bones in his body softened. The soft and lazy voice of a queen hits the depths of the soul. Beautiful sister, who are you looking for? Why don't you add a contact number? I can easily find people. My father is Luo Gang. Luo Hao boldly stepped closer and said, using his father's name to try to attract the attention of the beautiful woman in front of him. Strange, you are obviously not him, why do you smell like him? Hu Bai whispered softly. Looking at Luo Hao who was close to him, Hu Bai saw through the burning desire in the other's heart. With a chuckle at the corner of his mouth, a playful look appeared in his charming eyes. Look into my eyes. Hu Bai's charming voice surrounded Luo Hao's ears. Luo Hao's body trembled, and his eyes immediately met. I saw a vortex appear in the eyes of the beautiful woman in front of me, and then the vortex gradually moved to his eyes. In an instant, Hu Baibai's mind penetrated in and searched for something in Luo Hao's memory. Soon, Hu Baibai found the figure he had been thinking about in that memory. Chu's curvy waist trembled, and she also saw the conflict between Luo Hao and Shen Shuqiu in front of her. The eyes that were full of charm just now suddenly became as cold as the cold spring of hell. Hu Baibai locked Shen Shuqiu's position from his memory, then retreated, and looked coldly at the demented Luo Hao without choosing to kill him. He stretched out his pink tongue, licked his lips slightly, looked at a certain place and said, "I'm here." The next moment, he disappeared instantly. And Luo Hao still stayed there stupidly, with saliva flowing down his mouth. After Hu Baibai left, Shang Zongrong and his group of younger brothers came out. They didn't see Luo Hao inside, so they immediately found him. "Why are you staying here, Mr. Luo?" Shang Zongrong saw Luo Hao standing still at the door and immediately stepped forward. Hearing the latter words, Luo Hao turned around abruptly. The fire of unbearable desire suddenly appeared in his stupid eyes. The fat Shang Zongrong turned into an unknown woman in Luo Hao's eyes. At this moment, she was looking at him without clothes, with a charming look in her eyes. Even the words just now became in his ears, "Little brother, come and play." Shang Zongrong was slightly stunned when he saw the look in Luo Hao's eyes, and a chill rose in his heart. Before he could react, his eyes widened. Luo Hao in front of him actually began to take off his pants at this moment, and nothing was left in just a moment. Although Shang Zongrong was puzzled by this, he was shocked in his heart. But the next second, Luo Hao actually pounced on him. What are you doing, Luo Xiao? Let's talk it over, put on your pants first, okay." Shang Zongrong, who had no reaction, was immediately thrown to the ground by Luo Hao. The face that he usually needed to flatter was now licking him like a dog. "Pull him away," Shang Zongrong shouted to the person next to him in shock. But the younger brother next to him suddenly looked embarrassed, because Luo Xiao and the others didn't dare to pull him. "If I disturb Luo Hao's interest, wouldn't I be the one who will suffer in the end? Besides, seeing Luo Hao like this, who dares to get close to him? They all stay away, fearing that they will get into trouble and lose their chastity. Shang Zongrong, just bear with it for a while. What if Luo Xiao wants to change his taste today? Maybe we will have to call you Sister Shang tomorrow," someone said cautiously. "Bullshit." Shang Zongrong's face was furious. Looking at Luo Hao, who was getting more and more aggressive, Shang Zongrong burst out with an unprecedented force to push him away. He looked at him with a horrified look and ran towards the street without looking back. Luo Hao, who was knocked to the ground, quickly got up and chased him. This strange scene immediately attracted many people to watch, and some even took pictures with their mobile phones. "Don't run, beautiful sister." Luo Hao drooled and chased the figure in front of him frantically. Hu Baibai quickly followed the locked breath and came to the bottom of Jinbi Garden. Feeling the smell getting closer and closer, Hu Baibai could hardly bear the excitement in her heart. Without stopping, she was going to see the man, the one she had been looking for so long. After a while, Hu Baibai's exquisite body came to the door of room 601, Unit 2, Building 3. Through the vermilion door, Hu Baibai could even smell the warm breath of Shen Shuqiu inside. "You made me look for you for so long, how will I punish you later?" Hu Baibai's eyes were cunning, as if she was thinking of something bad. The heart that had been calm for a long time was beating rapidly at this moment. The next moment, Hu Baibai's delicate body appeared directly beside Shen Shuqiu's bed. The eyes full of all kinds of emotions gently looked at the sleeping Shen Shuqiu. "Although you have become younger, you are still you," Hu Baibai whispered softly. The body trembled slightly as it stood there, and the white hands gently stroked half of Shen Shuqiu's face. The next moment, it seemed that she could no longer bear the deep longing and feelings that were about to burst out in her heart. The whole body pressed hard on him, and her hands tightly hugged Shen Shuqiu. Shen Shuqiu, who was sleeping, suddenly felt something pressing on him. Shen Shuqiu, who was disturbed from his good dream, frowned. "Zhang Qianqiu, what are you going to do again?" Shen Shuqiu thought it was Zhang Qianqiu who came back and said unhappily, "Who is Zhang Qianqiu?" The next moment, a cold voice sounded in Shen Shuqiu's ears. Shen Shuqiu was stunned. "Hey, this voice is not right. This is not Zhang Qianqiu's playful voice." Shen Shucho was shocked and opened his eyes quickly, turning on the light button at the head of the bed. A familiar yet unfamiliar face came into view. The affection in Hu Baibai's eyes faded, replaced by a cold chill. Who is Zhang Qianzhou? Looking at Shen Shucho, who had woken up, Hu Baibai continued expressionlessly. Shen Shuchu's dusty memories were blasted away when this face appeared. Hu Baibai. Shen Shuchu's throat rolled. Answer my question, who is Zhang Qianzhou? Hu Baibai's body was even colder, and the whole room was as cold as ice. Of desolate night, Zhang Qianzhou is a dog I raised. Shen Shucho's brain was running rapidly and he said immediately. The reason why Shen Shucho said this was out of desperation. As the memory opens, Hu Baibai's character also comes to mind. In the 9 reincarnations, Hu Baibai is not the most cruel one. But he is definitely a top jealous person, and he has a great desire to control Shen Shucho. Although Zhang Qianzhou caused the most killings, she could still listen to Shen Shucho. Hu Baibai is different. She only wants to control Shen Shucho and rarely chooses to listen to him. That's why Shen Shucho chose to say this in an emergency, and I will wrong you first, Zhang Qianzhou. Shen Shucho didn't want to ask how Hu Baibai appeared here. At the moment, he just wanted to fool this extremely controlling Hu Baibai. You lie to me again. You clearly smell like a woman. Hu Baibai sneered. You should know the consequences of lying to me. Hu Baibai's cold face was close to Shen Shuchu's breath. Shen Shucho had a thin layer of cold sweat on his forehead. He pretended to be calm and said, Zhang Qianzhou is a female. She likes to use rouge powder, so she has a bit of femininity. Shen Shucho looked directly into those cold eyes as he spoke. He knew that he must not dodge at this time. In his second life, Shen Shucho deceived Hu Baibai once and was imprisoned for 3 full months. Shen Shucho would rather face Zhang Qianzhou, who had killed countless people, than stay with this psychopathic Hu Baibai. He was obviously a cute little fox when he was a child, but why did his style of painting change when he grew up? When she met Hu Baibai in the second life, her whole family was hunted down by monks, and only her little one was saved by Shen Shucho. He vaguely remembered that when Hu Baibai saw her for the first time, his yellow-brown pupils were filled with hatred and fear. The ending of the second life was not so tragic, but Hu Baibai also killed many people, including Shen Shuchu's sect and the demon clan behind Hu Baibai. From the moment Shen Shucho died at Hu Baibai, the world completely changed. A peerless celestial demon rises with unstoppable momentum. Forget it, it's hard to believe you. Hu Baibai chuckled lightly. She didn't know that Shen Shucho was obviously lying. She was a fox, and it was extremely difficult to deceive a cunning fox. But Hu Baibai didn't want to pursue so much. She crossed the river of time and space and finally found Shen Shucho, so how could she continue to be angry over such a trivial matter? All the women he came into contact with were killed. Seeing that Hu Baibai did not continue to ask questions, Shen Shucho breathed a sigh of relief. Before Shen Shucho could ask Hu Baibai how he came here, a soft, cold lips immediately pressed against her. Shen Shucho's eyes suddenly widened. Then, there was a painful feeling on his lips, and Hu Baibai was actually biting him. A trace of blood flowed down his lips, but was caught by a soft tongue. Hu Baibai's lustful eyes seemed to be dripping with water. Madness was sucking Shen Shucho's blood, and a sickly flush appeared on his cheeks. Hu Baibai's movements became more and more rough and wanton, and the movements in his mouth went deeper and deeper. The intense deep throat kiss almost suffocated Shen Shucho. He wanted to resist but to no avail, his cultivation was suppressed to death. Shen Shucho closed his eyes as if resigned to his fate, complaining helplessly in his heart. Why are you all like this? After a long time, their lips parted, and time seemed to freeze at this moment. Where their eyes met, lust rippled, and warm breaths flowed between them. Hu Baibai's face was flushed, shy and charming, and his eyes were blurred, staring at Shen Shucho infatuatedly. Shen Shucho's lips turned white. He glanced at Hu Baibai with a complicated look and said, "How did you find me?" Although Zhang Qianzhou came for him before, Shen Shucho also speculated that the heroine might come for him in the future. But that was just a guess after all, and naturally he didn't want to face these heroines anymore. But he never thought that just a short time after Zhang Qianzhou disappeared, Hu Baibai, who was known as the Sky Fox Demon Emperor in the second generation, would come looking for him. I am a vixen. No matter how far away you are, I can still find your scent. Fox Bye smiled lightly on his charming face. Shen Shucho suddenly fell silent. Facing these powerful female protagonists who could destroy the world at any time, he was completely stressed. Zhang Qianqiu is no longer the 4 or 5-year-old little girl at the beginning, and Hu Bye is no longer the little fox that can be masturbated. These female protagonists have all completed their sublimation. Most of them are terrifyingly powerful, and their psychology is somewhat abnormal. Hu Bye has had this habit of biting people since he was a child. Therefore, Shen Shucho was bitten not once or twice. Actually, I came to your planet 3 years ago, but at that time I spent a lot of energy searching for you and fell into a deep sleep. Shen Shucho was slightly shocked. Hu Bye actually crossed the river of time and came to Blue Star ahead of Zhang Qianqiu. At that time 3 years ago, Shen Shucho was still in the world where the 9th generation Qin Hongyi lived. You can't escape from my grasp. The tip of his fox-white nose came up lightly, and their eyes were only centimeters apart. From those foxy eyes, Shen Shucho seemed to see Hu Bye's deep longing. Shen Shucho ducked his eyes and sighed secretly. A story that ends should have a perfect ending, why should there be a follow-up? As soon as these words came out, the temperature in the room suddenly dropped sharply. The fox's white eyes became serious and he said coldly every word, "Ha, perfect, what is perfection? You only abandoned me when you died, and now you tell me this is the so-called perfection. You heartless man, why did you do this to me? Why did you die? No one let you die without my permission. I will cramp and skin those people to refine their souls, leaving them with only a trace of their souls forever. Living in the sea of fire and suffering. Without you, there would be nothing in that world worthy of my nostalgia, and now you tell me that it should have been a perfect ending." The more Hu Bye talked, the more excited she became, and she pinched Shen Shucho's neck with a pair of jade hands. Shen Shucho didn't reply when he heard this, and stared blankly at Hu Bye, who was gradually going crazy. "Why don't you answer me? You speak." Seeing Shen Shucho's expressionless expression, Hu Bye couldn't help but feel a trace of panic in his cold eyes. "I want you to answer me, what is perfection?" Hu Bye roared. "That's why you treated me like this when I saved you." Shen Shucho was silent for a moment and said in a hoarse voice. Perhaps deep down in his heart, Shen Shucho underestimated his importance to the 9th heroine. Listening to Shen Shucho's emotionless words, Hu Bye panicked completely. He quickly let go and hugged her whole body, murmuring, "I'm sorry, Master. It was a mistake. Bye misses Master so much. Bye can't live without you." The longing in Hu Bye's heart turned into crystal tears at this moment, wetting Shen Shucho's face. Well, Shen Shucho felt the moisture on his face and the white fox trembling in his arms. At this moment, he just wants to escape from this world. 1 second he was still indifferent, and the next second he became the well-behaved Bye. This is the reason why I don't want to face these heroines again. One is more perverted than the other, and one is more schizophrenic than the other. Master, please don't be angry with Bye. It doesn't matter how the master wants to punish Bye. Hu Bye rubbed it gently in his arms. The next moment, a furry, tingling feeling appeared on Shen Shucho's face. 9 snow-white fox tails filled the entire bedroom, and 2 white ears were drilled out of the fox's white head, and they were still moving. "Let me get up," Shen Shucho said helplessly. Why do these heroines like to suppress him first for fear of him running away? Same. Does the master not like Bye's appearance? What about this? Hu Bye mistakenly thought that Shen Shucho didn't like him, and immediately he felt lighter. Hu Bye now transformed back into a fox the size of a puppy, looking at Shen Shucho with loving eyes. Shen Shucho picked her up and put her aside and sat up. At this moment, she was not sleepy at all. He has a big head now. Zhang Qianqiu is enough to annoy him, and now there is another schizophrenic. The biggest trouble was when Zhang Qianqiu came back. The two collided, and Shen Shucho couldn't even imagine what it would be like. Have you not felt suppressed by heaven in the past 3 years? Shen Shucho suddenly asked. When I first came here, the heavenly Tao in your world was just fragments. It was basically impossible for me to suppress it. Hu Bye still seemed to like turning into a human form, and quietly changed back again, stretching out his hands to wrap around Shen Shucho's waist. What makes me most surprised is that now, the way of heaven in this world has recovered so quickly, and has been able to substantially suppress me. I can feel that if we give this world a little more time, it will definitely be a glorious place. World. Hu Baibai continued, fear revealed in his words. When Hu Baibai came out of the Zion Mountains, he noticed the power of heaven on his body, and his cultivation had to be suppressed from the demon emperor realm to the divine transformation realm. Hearing these words, Shen Shucho felt happy in his heart. It turns out that Blue Star's heavenly way can actually suppress two powerful emperors continuously, which is a good thing for Shen Shucho. Just when Shen Shucho was still happy about this sentence, Hu Baibai's next sentence made him feel dizzy. So I have decided to take you out of here and find a world where there is only us. When the time comes, I will allow you to give birth to a litter of little foxes. There was no room for rejection in Hu Baibai's tone. Neuropathy. Who wants to have a little fox with a psychopath like you? Shen Shucho refused without even thinking. No. After saying this, Shen Shucho clearly felt that the cold light and chill had returned to Hu Baibai's body. This is my home and I'm not going anywhere, Shen Shucho said forcefully. Just when I thought Hu Baibai was going to lose his temper again, the cold light behind him receded. Baibai listens to his master, as long as the master never abandons Baibai. Fox Baibai said in a soft voice. Shen Shucho sighed again. Sure enough, he had to be tougher in dealing with Hu Baibai's schizophrenia. Feeling the temperature of the body in his arms and the restless belly, Shen Shucho's thoughts slowly fell into memories. Taihang Mountain. Daozong of the Shengqing dynasty. Are you sure you want to go down the mountain? An immortal old man looked seriously at the young man in white kneeling in front of him. This disciple has decided to go down the mountain to experience the world of mortals, and I hope that the master will fulfill his wish. Shen Shucho said without changing his expression. There is only 1 month left until he meets the second generation heroine Hu Baibai, so he has to go down the mountain early. The second life was called the Land of Silver Stream, and Shen Shucho was the Shengqing Dao sect, one of the 10 most powerful sects in this world. The old man with an immortal spirit in front of him was none other than Shen Shucho's master, Feng Yangxi. Name: Shen Shucho. Cultivation level: late stage of Jindan. World: the second life, the Land of Silver Flow. Heroine: Fox Baibai. This is the face of Shen Shucho's second life. Different from the first life, he has cultivation in this life, although he is only in the late stage of Jindan. Do you know what you are going to lose by going down the mountain? Feng Yangxi frowned. Disciple understands. Shen Shucho said, neither humble nor arrogant. You are my most promising disciple. In this Dao sect secret realm training, your strength will definitely be among the best. The resources you will get will be enough to make you reach the sky in 1 step. Do you want to give up such a great future? Feng Yangxi looked in disbelief. Disciple doesn't care about that. Master promised me when he accepted me as his disciple that he would not forcibly interfere with my trajectory. I don't know if that counts. Shen Shucho's voice was still calm. No matter how great the temptation was, he could not resist his determination to go down the mountain. In this life, Shen Shucho was just a baby wrapped in quilts when he arrived. When he was 5 years old, he was spotted by Feng Yangxi, who was passing by Tianchong, and was taken to Shengqing Daozong. In just 20 years, Shen Shucho's cultivation level was gradually promoted by the system to the late golden core stage, which was only 1 step away from the nascent soul stage that others dreamed of. There was still a month left before meeting Hu Baibai, and he had to go down the mountain in advance, otherwise it would be too late to leave when the Daozong secret realm opened. What's more, Shen Shucho can't practice by himself at all. No matter how many resources he has, it's useless, and he's not from this world. Shen Shucho didn't care at all about these resources, but seeing Feng Yangxi's face again, Shen Shucho felt a little guilty. No matter what, he has been by Feng Yangxi's side for 20 years. Let alone a person, even a cold stone can have feelings. You have to give a reason to be a teacher. Feng Yangxi was silent for a moment and said. Those eyes looked closely at Shen Shucho, trying to detect signs of lying on his body. Because there is a very important person waiting for me in this mortal world. No matter what I lose, I cannot lose her. Shen Shucho raised his head calmly and said. Feng Yangxi didn't see any trace of lying in Shen Shucho's eyes, which surprised him. When Zaifeng Yangxi saw Shen Shucho for the first time, he knew that he was just an orphan, and his parents died in the war. After coming to Shengqing Daozong, Shen Shucho had been growing up under his eyes. He had never seen where that important person came from. The strangest thing is that Shen Shucho didn't lie. With Feng Yangxi's cultivation during the tribulation period, it would be extremely difficult for anyone to lie in front of him. Who is that person? This strange sight actually aroused curiosity in Feng Yangxi's heart. The disciple can't say it, so I still hope that the master will make it perfect. The disciple is incompetent and has failed to do his best. Boom, boom, boom. After saying this, Shen Shucho kowtowed 3 times. He didn't use his true energy to protect his body, and blood suddenly dripped from his forehead. Seeing such a determined Shen Shucho, Feng Yangxi felt a touch of distress deep in his eyes. Feng Yangxi paced back and forth with his hands behind his back. After a while, well, go. Feng Yangxi sighed secretly. Thank you, master, for your help. Shen Shucho sincerely thanked him and left the hall without looking back. Looking at Shen Shucho's leaving figure, Feng Yangxi was not idle either. He immediately came to a secret room, took out the Shen Shucho Ming card and started to deduce it. Time slowly came to a standstill. Phew. After burning the incense, Feng Yangxi vomited blood, his body was in turmoil, his pupils were shaking, and his heart was extremely shocked. He deduced that Shen Shucho's fate turned out to be dark, and his final destination was death. Feng Yangxi didn't want to believe this ending at all, so he immediately started to deduce it again. Each deduction consumes a lot of his energy, until he gets the result after the 10th time. The result is still death. At this moment, Feng Yangxi collapsed to the ground in despair. He could not accept this ending. Shen Shucho, who is regarded as a son, will die in the future. The process is dark, and the meaning of death represents liberation. I do not believe, Feng Yangxi murmured to himself. As he stood up, he wanted to chase Shen Shucho back. He didn't want to believe that death would be a relief for Shen Shucho. Shen Shucho just packed a few pieces of clothing, carried a huge sword box, and left Daozong on Shangyan. Not far from Daozong, Shen Shu bumped into a girl in a blue dress. The girl's exquisite and delicate face was immediately overjoyed when she saw Shen Shucho, and she hurriedly came up to greet him. Third senior brother, you know that I am coming back today, so you came to pick me up, right? The girl skillfully held Shen Shucho's shoulders with a happy smile. Those gorgeous bright eyes hid love that Shen Shucho couldn't see clearly. No, Shen Shucho looked at the girl who was as caressing as a bird and said calmly. Feng Yangxi accepted a total of 4 disciples, 3 boys and 1 girl. The girl in front of him is none other than his junior sister Zuo Shu. Zuo Shu's pretty face darkened, and a look of disappointment flashed in her eyes. But it passed in a flash, and she immediately returned to that cute little junior sister. Third senior brother, wherever you are going, I will go with you. No need. Shen Shucho's face was indifferent, and he immediately pulled away Zuo Shu's hand and walked away. Zuo Shu could no longer hide her disappointed expression. She stopped where she was and saw the disappearing figure of Shucho, pursed her lips before returning to the clan in a depressed manner. But before he took 2 steps, he bumped into the figure of his master Feng Yangxi. Master, where is third senior brother going? Zuo Shu greeted him. It's okay, you go back to the sect first. Feng Yangxi glanced at Zuo Shu and did not explain. Let her know that Shen Shucho gave up the Dao sect secret realm and went down the mountain. Zuo Shu would definitely make the same choice. Zuo Shu's vague feelings for Shen Shucho could not be clearly seen by others if they didn't know that he was an ugly master. Feng Yangxi was naturally very willing to form a marriage between the 2 apprentices. However, Shen Shucho was just like a wooden man, staying away from women all day long. If Shen Shucho hadn't said that cultivation was the most important thing, he would have doubted whether this apprentice had a problem with his orientation. Oh fine, Zuo Shu said with a drooped face. Zuo Shu still felt a little strange. The third senior brother's behavior was as lukewarm as usual. But the master's behavior just now seemed to have something on his mind. Could it be because of the third senior brother? Zuo Shu suddenly felt an uneasy feeling arise in her heart. P.S. A passage from a cute new author. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Many people think that memoirs take a long time, and they even think that they don't need to be written. Xiao Mengxin wants to say that this process is to record the growth process of the ninth heroine. Whether it is Zhang Qianqiu, Hu Baibai, or Chu Siqi and Xiao Miao, there must be a process between them and the protagonist. The plot of the ninth world is promoted together with the plot of the current world. Xiao Mengxin can't write to satisfy everyone. To be honest, sometimes I can't calm down. I can obviously write better, but I am not satisfied with it due to impetuousness. Xiao Mengxin can only try her best to write and make every character flesh and blood. Time flies by. It had been just over a month since Shen Shuqiu came down the mountain. After leaving Shangqing Daozong, Shen Shuqiu chose to settle in a bamboo forest on the mountain not far from Jinshui town in the northwest region. This place is surrounded by mountains and rivers, forming a natural barrier. The sound of streams and swaying trees can be heard all around. Naturally, Shen Shuqiu couldn't be more satisfied with this place. Shen Shuqiu also made a rocking chair out of green bamboo, and he lay on it all day long to enjoy the breeze. He doesn't need to eat, he just pops a few bigu pills into his mouth every now and then. Take advantage of this time to relax a bit. After meeting the heroine, he will have to bear the responsibility of being both a father and a mother. It was July 3, 402 years in the Yinliu calendar. Noon. The gentle breeze gently blew the hair around my ears. Shen Shuqiu opened his closed eyes and stretched lazily and comfortably. Next, it's time to meet the heroine of the second life, Hu Baibai, for the first time. With the heavy and wide sword box on Shen Shuqiu's back, he pushed open the bamboo door and walked down the mountain. This month, Feng Yangxi has been hiding in the sky to spy on Shen Shuqiu's daily life. He wanted to know who the important person his disciple was talking about was. Seeing that Shen Shuqiu finally came down the mountain after a month, Feng Yangxi also cheered up and began to pay close attention. It's true that Shen Shuqiu has been too boring this month. He just lies down every day and has no other interests. He is completely the same person as the Shengqing Dao sect. Now, next to a pond at the foot of the mountain. Senior Sister Sha, this monster is already dead. A group of 6 monks gathered together, led by a girl in red. The speaker was a burly middle-aged man. 2 scarred fox demon corpses appeared in front of them. There was a curled-up little fox under the body of the fox demon, and the dark red blood dyed her snow-white hair red. Looking at this scene, the 2 fox demons fell here to protect the little foxes beneath them. The demon exudes an aura unique to the golden core stage, and the strongest of the group of monks on the opposite side is just a golden core stager. Go, take out the demon pill, and you will be my favorite tonight. Shaolin Yingying smiled. When the burly middle-aged man heard this, a lustful look flashed in his eyes, and he walked towards the fox demon's body. The remaining 4 people immediately cast envious looks at the middle-aged man. The burly middle-aged man skillfully took out the demon pill, his eyes full of greed. At this moment, the body of the little fox was also exposed to the sight of several people. Senior Sister Sha, what should I do with this young one? The middle-aged man asked. Kill him. Shaolin's eyes were cold. Hearing this, the man smiled ferociously and stretched out his palm to catch the little fox. The little fox huddled together, its hair dyed red with blood exploding, with fear and hatred in its eyes. Call out. At this moment, there was a sound of breaking through the air. The man gave a loud warning, and pain suddenly surged in his hands. Looking down, he saw a bloody hole in the palm of his generous hand. Ah! The middle-aged man held his palms and backed away quickly. At the same time, he glanced around and quickly locked his eyes on a white figure walking towards him not far away. Who are you? You dare to interfere with my good deeds? The man asked coldly, with a hint of fear in his eyes. He is in the Golden Core realm, and being able to pierce his palm in this situation shows that this person's strength is definitely not inferior to him. The other people also spotted Shen Shuqiu's figure, all with unkind expressions on their faces. You can't move her. Shen Shuqiu walked leisurely and unhurriedly in front of everyone. Ouch, ouch, ouch. When the little fox saw Shen Shuqiu coming, he raised his little head and barked fiercely. Shen Shuqiu chuckled. It seemed that he was going to raise a little Lolita with animal ears. She was dressed in white clothes dancing in the wind, her eyes were calm and her words were confident and calm. Shaolin's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw Shen Shucho's tall and straight figure and his jade-like face. If I insist on touching her, what should you do? The man said coldly. Boom! Shen Shucho slammed the sword box behind him on the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise immediately. You can give it a try. Shen Shucho didn't care at all and smiled slightly. Court death. The man was instantly angered by Shen Shucho and was about to take action. Shut up. Shaolin suddenly spoke up. Summer, senior sister, The man wanted to say something more, but when he saw that cold face, he suddenly fell silent. Shaolin turned around and put on a smile. It's not impossible to let her go. You can accompany me as my favorite tonight. The more he looked at Shen Shucho, Shaolin's legs couldn't help but tighten, heat flowed out of them, and there was a strange light in his eyes. Are you from the Maiden Palace? Seeing Shaolin's appearance, Shen Shucho immediately started to guess. That's right, sister, I am from the Maiden Palace. How about being my sister's pet? I guarantee that you will experience the feeling of ecstasy. Shaolin licked her lips and said. No need, Shen doesn't like shabby shoes like yours. Shen Shucho said calmly. The Maiden Palace is an evil sect, and its main practice is dual cultivation, which disrupts the power of yin and yang to increase cultivation. The Maiden Palace is not all female cultivators. They also maintain a group of male cultivators under their sect for daily cultivation and enjoyment. Almost every female nun in the Maiden Palace has several faces of her own. The Maiden Palace is a state in which women are respected and men are servants. There are many male cultivators who want to go to this sect. They can experience dual cultivation and increase their strength. Who wouldn't want to go there? But once dual cultivation has been practiced for a long time, the male cultivator's yin is greater than yang's subconscious mind and will completely turn into an obedient dog. Little brother, don't make your sister angry. Shaolin's pretty face sank. She hated people calling her broken shoes. Loose woman. Shen Shucho smiled lightly. Kill him. Shaolin's face turned completely gloomy and he immediately ordered. Where did you come from, you wild boy? Just die. The man had long wanted to take action and was ready to kill them after receiving the order. Shen Shucho patted the sword box and whispered, Qingling. The middle-aged man paused in his steps. At this moment, the hairs all over his body suddenly appeared, and the danger of death suddenly came. In an instant, the sword box opened to both sides, and a flash of white light bloomed from it. A 3-foot-long green blade that was completely white jade burst out. Zheng. The crisp sound of swords and sharp whistles echoed in the air. In an instant, a cold sword intent enveloped several people. The middle-aged man's pupils were dilated, and his body couldn't stop trembling. From the moment the sword was unsheathed, he knew that the young man in white in front of him was no match for him. Once he takes action, he will definitely be the one to die, and not only that, but the people behind him won't be able to escape either. Who is this person? The middle-aged man was shocked. Looking at the long sword blooming with terrifying sword intent, the middle-aged man hesitated slightly, then turned around and ran away. Compared with others, your own life is the most important. He couldn't deal with this person, and the moment he turned around and ran away, Qingling moved, and the murderous intent firmly locked him in it. Feeling that the danger of death was getting closer and closer behind him, the middle-aged man gritted his teeth and turned around to prepare for a desperate fight. Tear it apart. The soaring sword intent carried by Qingling instantly tore the middle-aged man apart. He exploded like a watermelon, and a large amount of blood and minced meat were thrown at several people. Ah! Shaolin let out a scream. A pretty face was covered with pungent blood, and the other people also looked embarrassed. This sudden ending only happened in an instant. The remaining 5 people were frightened and were at a loss on the spot. Their eyes were filled with fear and trembling as they stared at Shen Shucho in front of them. With just one sword strike, he killed the strongest one among them in the Golden Core realm. This easy sword also cut several people to the edge of death. This kind of strength is no different from trampling an ant on the roadside to death. There is no ability to resist. You also know that we are from the Maiden Palace. You can't kill us, otherwise someone will definitely cause trouble for you. Some people are scared out of their wits and walk on the wrong path. Shen Shucho shook his head lightly and said calmly, but I think it would be better for you all to die. With his soft words, several people's lives were cut down by the sharp sword. Shen Shucho had never been an indecisive person. Since he had killed one, it would not matter if he killed 5 more. Killing one is still killing, killing 5 is still killing, in the end it's just a little more blood. As soon as Shen Shucho said these words, the faces of several people who had been hopeful just now turned completely dark. Run separately. He only has one flying sword. In an instant, several people scattered like birds and beasts, galloping in different directions. I have been unable to defeat him again and again, and now I can only pray that I can escape. In the blink of an eye, only Shaolin, a woman in red, was left dumbfounded. How can you be sure that I only have one sword? Shen Shucho chuckled. The sound was not loud enough that the fleeing people could not hear it, but Shaolin heard it clearly. The fear in his heart turned into shock, and his eyes showed disbelief. Could it be that he has other natal flying swords? Shaolin made a bold guess in her mind, but she immediately denied it. As we all know, ordinary monks can only own one natal magic weapon in their lifetime. Magical instruments are a must-have for every monk, and the types and appearances of magical instruments are all kinds of strange. For example, her own magical weapon is a soul-eating flute, and the sound of the flute is so captivating. The magical weapon of the young man in white in front of him should be the flying sword named Qingling. Anyone who can possess one thing at the same time is without exception a world-famous peerless cultivation genius. But Shaolin had never seen or heard of the young man in white in front of him. In my heart, I just thought this was what he said to himself. But the next move of the young man in white shocked Shaolin completely. Shen Shucho's eyes flashed coldly, and he opened his thin lips and said, Bing Sol, Zongxing, Jiwan, Duanzhang. In an instant, the sword box beside him shook, and then 4 rays of rainbow light shot into the sky. A terrifying sword intent swept across like a storm, as if emerging from the darkness with a force that devoured all things. Zheng, a sharp whistling sound erupted in the air, as if it was about to cut heaven and earth apart. The surrounding trees trembled under the terrifying sword intent, as if they were succumbing to fear. In an instant, the sword intent containing the aura of endless killing burst out like a rainbow through the sun. Hu Baibai buried his head under his body under the powerful sword intention magnetic field, his weak and helpless body trembling constantly. Just when Hu Baibai was facing this terrifying despair, a warm big hand held her in his arms. He raised his eyes and looked up, meeting Shen Shucho's comforting gaze. It's okay, no one can hurt you as long as I'm here. Shen Shucho smiled like a spring breeze. After speaking, he stroked her hair with his hand. Ouch! The moment he touched it, Hu Baibai opened his small mouth and sucked Shen Shucho's finger in with a moan, his tiny teeth rubbing continuously. I saved your life and you bit me. Shen Shu grinned. At this moment, Hu Baibai's spiritual intelligence has not been fully opened. In her eyes, Shen Shucho is no different from those who killed her parents. This blooming power will only make Hu Baibai even more frightened. Reaching out to bite him was just a subconscious act of self-protection. Shen Shucho wanted to stretch out his finger but found that Hu Baibai was biting her tightly. He didn't dare to pull it out hard, otherwise he would only hurt her. Be good. Can you please let go first? I'll take you home later. Shen Shucho spoke softly and softly like coaxing a child. At this moment, only the second-generation heroine Hu Baibai was in his eyes, and he didn't pay attention to Shaolin at the side at all. Shaolin was also completely shocked by Shen Shucho's actions, which far covered up the fear in his heart. Counting Qingling who has been staring at him, the young man in white clothes in front of him actually has 5 natal flying swords. The strongest genius in the entire Silver Stream continent is the previous generation sect of the Tianyuan sect. Lord Xiao Tengyan. A person as powerful as Xiao Tengyan only has 4 natal magic weapons. Who is this young man in front of him? He actually has 5 natal flying swords, one more than Xiao Tengyan. Ah! At this moment, several shrill screams sounded from the horizon in the distance. And those 4 flying swords were like 4 meteors streaking across the sky. They flashed with dazzling sword light. The speed of the sword light is extremely fast, like lightning, making it almost impossible to catch their trajectory. Each ray of sword light contains endless power, as if it can tear the void apart. In an instant, it landed in the sword box next to Shen Shucho, and the powerful sword intention disappeared at this time. Now there is only one light spirit left, staring at Shaolin. Shaolin was also startled by the scream, and saw Shen Shucho in front of him looking at him with a smile. Don't kill me, please, I can be your dual cultivator slave. Shaolin's eyes were frightened and he kept begging for mercy. The 5 people who had just escaped were killed by the young man in front of them with just a few gestures. He even stayed in place without moving. In the face of such an existence, Shaolin had no desire to escape. I told you, you're dirty. Shen Shucho put away the expression on his face. Zheng, as if receiving the master's order, the light sword made a crisp sword cry. It instantly turned into an afterimage, passing through Shaolin's fearful eyes. After dealing with this group of people, Shen Shucho turned around and left with Hu Baibai in his arms. The little guy refused to let go at this moment, and Shen Shucho felt wet and hot on his fingertips. All of Shen Shucho's actions caught Feng Yangxi's gaze exactly. Feng Yangxi frowned. He didn't expect that the important person his apprentice saw would be a fox demon. On the Silver Stream continent, the human race and the demon race are incompatible. In the eyes of the human race, the demon race is just a kind of alien that can be quickly eliminated. In the eyes of the demon race, the human race is a good supplementary skill. Feng Yangxi stared at Hu Bai, who was in Shen Shucho's arms, but had not yet activated all his intelligence. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. According to his deduction, this demon will be the cause of Shen Shucho's death in the future. Although he didn't know why his apprentice would save a fox, as a master he would never allow his apprentice to have his bright future ruined by a fox. Just as Shen Shucho's talent was something Feng Yangxi had never seen before, in fact, there were 7 swords in Shen Shucho's sword box. Feng Yangxi was naturally overjoyed to learn that Shen Shucho had such a peerless beauty, but only he knew the news. Shen Shucho once asked him to keep this secret. Although he was puzzled, he just thought that his apprentice did not like to make it public. But no matter how good your qualifications are, your cultivation progress will not be faster without good resources. That's all. Just break your promise once as a teacher. Feng Yangxi said lightly. Then he made a secret with his fingers, and suddenly a black light shot towards Hu Baibai instantly. He wanted to nip the future calamity in the cradle for Shen Shucho. But at this moment, the wiping black light was intercepted by a mysterious force in midair. Feng Yangxi's expression suddenly changed, and his spiritual thoughts instantly enveloped the entire land. Whoever is stopping me, why not come out and see me? Feng Yangxi looked around coldly. Strangely, his spiritual thoughts did not find the person who intercepted him. This is his fate. A majestic voice descended from the sky. Feng Yangxi sneered and cursed angrily. What's wrong with my apprentice? This is a bullshit disaster. Since you choose to stop me, don't be a coward. I haven't made a move with anyone for 300 years since I came out to fight. Quote. Almost as soon as Feng Yangxi finished speaking, a powerful force around him instantly enveloped him. Feng Yangxi's face changed drastically, and he couldn't release a trace of his true energy at this time. It is both a calamity and a fate. It is irreversible. The unknown voice sounded again. In front of Feng Yangxi, the world suddenly spun and fell into darkness. When he opened his eyes again, he was surprised to find that he was actually in the Shengqing Dao sect. Shen Shucho held Hu Baibai in his arms, rubbed his hair, and said softly, "Hello." Hu Baibai. After coming back to his senses, Shen Shucho smiled helplessly. This was his first meeting with Hu Baibai. The fox Baibai liked to bite him when they first met. Raising the fox Baibai later was also a troublesome thing. Hu Baibai was very afraid of him and took her home. He often wanted to escape, but was caught by Shen Shucho every time. Hu Baibai was still very cute when she was a child, with hair as white as snow. Even if Shen Shucho fed her the transformation pill later, she was still a pretty little girl. But as he grew older, the extreme desire for control in Hu Baibai's heart became apparent. Compared to the obedient Zhang Qianqiu, Hu Baibai is the most rebellious and often gets him into trouble. Later, after Hu Baibai gained some cultivation, his behavior became even more unrestrained, and he often wanted to control what he did. Hu Baibai is not a person without fear. The one who can control her is the enchantress Yu Lingwan from the Maiden Palace. Because that woman was so charming, she was more authentic than Hu Baibai, a vixen. Shen Shucho could not control his physical agitation every time he faced Yu Lingwan. Master, aren't you happy to see Baibai? Hu Baibai leaned close to Shen Shuchou's ear and exhaled quietly. The warm breath penetrated deep into Shuchou's heart. Before Shen Shuchou could speak, he felt the fox-white little mouth immediately take his earlobe into his mouth. Shen Shuchou's body trembled and he said, Hu Baibai, what are you doing? Of course I will eat up the master. Hu Baibai chuckled. The next moment, Shen Shuchou was completely pressed under him, and his charming eyes seemed to be dripping with water. My original unfulfilled wish, master, you won't be able to escape tonight. Hu Baibai licked his lips slightly, and a pink glow flashed in his charming eyes. Shen Shuchou suddenly noticed the heat in his body, a strange feeling came over his whole body, and his head felt dizzy. The whole room is filled with a strange smell. Hu Baibai is so arrogant, how dare you use your charming eyes on me? Shen Shuchou seemed to have noticed something, and said with a horrified expression. So what, my good master, you are rebelling against me? Hu Baibai smiled. The red little mouth immediately came up, and the flexible pink tongue slid into the mouth and stirred wildly. It's over. Shen Shuchou's last words before losing consciousness. A night of silence. The next day. Inside the Chu family villa. Chu Siqi screamed and covered her red face with her hands. Chu Siqi, who covered her head under the quilt, felt ashamed deep in her heart. She actually had an erotic dream last night, and it was with that idiot Shen Shuchou. There was also a small secret of joy hidden in that strong shame. Chu Siqi, why are you so greedy for that big idiot Shen Shuchou? Chu Siqi questioned herself. What's wrong with you, baby girl? At this time, Chu Tianshang's voice sounded outside the door. It's okay to have nightmares. Chu Siqi said with a shy face, and there was something strange in her voice unconsciously. Get up quickly, Dad has something to ask you. Chu Tianshang didn't notice anything. Oh, got it, Chu Siqi replied. Before getting up again, Chu Siqi skillfully picked up her phone and found Shen Shuchou's chat box to see if he had replied to her. The news still stuck on her good night sentence last night. A hint of disappointment suddenly appeared on Chu Siqi's little face, and then she grabbed a little bear and kneaded it hard, saying, You stinky Shuxiang, you big fool, you don't reply to my message, I hate you. Chu Siqi. Good morning. Big idiot. Saying this, Chu Siqi still said good morning. He comforted himself in his heart that maybe he hadn't woken up yet. After a simple wash, Chu Siqi went downstairs to dine in a cute little dress. The only people eating in the huge Chu family villa were the Chu family father and daughter. Dad, don't you have to go to the company? Chu Siqi sat at the dining table and said. It was already 10 o'clock in the morning, and Chu Tianshang usually went out at 8 o'clock. Chu Tianshang said dotingly, How about Daddy stay at home with you today? Not good, Chu Siqi suddenly said. She planned to take the initiative today and find Shen Shuchou. Anyway, she had checked Shen Shuchou's address. With Chu Tianshang accompanying her, there was no chance that she would take the initiative to gank Shen Shuchou. Chu Tianshang's face suddenly froze. He didn't expect that her precious daughter would reject him. So Dad, you better go to work. Quote, Chu Siqi's mouth was stuffed with bulges. My precious daughter, you are so anxious to catch up with your father. You usually want me to spend more time with you. What's wrong today? Chu Tianshang said meaningfully. No way, mainly because I have an appointment with friends today. Chu Siqi felt guilty. Oh, which friend can tell me? Chu Tianshang teased intentionally. Chu Siqi pretended to be unhappy and said, Oh Dad, how could you know? Anyway, I don't have time today. Chu Tianshang smiled and stopped pretending. I'm going to see Shen Shuchou, right? Yes, no. Chu Siqi subconsciously replied when she heard Shen Shuchou's name, but she immediately reacted. Looking back, she found that Chu Tianshang was looking at her with a smile. Dad, how do you know about Shen Shuchou? Chu Siqi's little face couldn't help but panic. HMPH, you kept calling people's names in the car that day when you were drunk. Do you think I wouldn't know? Chu Tianshang pretended to have a straight face and snorted coldly. It's over, Chu Siqi thought to herself. The driver told Chu Tianshang everything. Dad, don't be angry, he is just my classmate. Chu Siqi didn't dare to look at Chu Tianshang and said cautiously. Why is Dad angry? You have someone you like, so I'm not angry. Chu Siqi looked up. Chu Tianshang continued. Is there anyone who knows you better than me? Do you have any friends in the class? Now that there is an extra male classmate, you don't like him. Chu Siki's face turned red and her voice was weak. No way. If you like it, go for it. You are my precious daughter. How can that boy not like you? Chu Tianshang encouraged. A trace of sadness flashed in Chu Siki's eyes, but it was fleeting. Shen Shucho did say that he didn't like her, and she was rejected even when she confessed to him. But it doesn't matter. What I chose for Shen Shucho is mine. Chu Siki's face regained its confidence. Regarding Shen Shucho's life background, Chu Tianshang immediately asked the people below to investigate clearly. He has no bad habits and he is the only one in the family. What made Chu Tianshang willing to encourage his daughter to pursue Shen Shucho was his suspicion that the person who saved his daughter last time must be related to this kid. And because Shen Shucho was admitted to Shenwu University, he might have some connection with the person behind the scenes. For such a person who is similar to the Golden Core realm, it is naturally the best outcome for him to have good relations with the Chu family. If Chu Siqi revealed that that person was Shen Shucho, Chu Tianshang would probably be shocked. Chu Siqi clenched her little pink fist and encouraged herself in her heart. Come on, Chu Siqi, you can definitely do it. The snow in winter is pure white, but it is so cold. Everything is bleak, the world has a touch of sadness, and life is frozen at this moment. The flying snow falls like a knife rain, covering the vision with silver, adding a touch of coldness to the world. A snowfall cannot end the indifference of winter. The biting cold wind whistled past. A dilapidated temple stood alone. The cold wind whistled through the broken doors and windows, making bursts of sobbing. A weak flame swayed in the cold wind, and it seemed that it could go out at any time. A figure appeared under the reflection of the flames. It was a white-haired old woman. Sit down around the firelight, using the warmth to dispel the cold. Thump, thump. At this moment, footsteps sounded outside the temple gate, and then it was pushed open. A young man in white walked in, holding a delicate little girl beside him. It's too snowy outside. I didn't know there was someone inside. Please bear with me. The young man in white seemed to be unaware that there was someone inside, and greeted politely. It's okay. The snow outside is a bit heavy. Come here to warm up by the fire. The old woman warmly entertained. Sorry for disturbing you. The young man in white did not refuse, and sat aside holding the girl in his hand. Young man, where are you from and why are you here? The old woman asked. I was just about to go to Ningyuan town, which is not far away. I had to hide because of the heavy snow on the way. The young man in white smiled slightly. I heard that there have been many deaths in Ningyuan town recently. It is said that they were all eaten by demons. How dare you go there? The old woman whispered. Where are the demons? The young man in white smiled. When the old woman saw that he didn't believe her and was about to say something else, the door of the temple was pushed open again. A figure appeared in the sight of the three people. The woman was about 30 years old, with a beautiful face and a curvy figure. The cloth clothes were wet by the snow, and a touch of spring could be seen vaguely. The two huge things on the chest jumped up and down. Sorry, I didn't know there were people inside. The woman was startled by the three people inside. It's okay, girl, we are all hiding from the snow, come over quickly. The old woman smiled kindly. Excuse me then, the woman said in a tender voice. Then she sat directly beside the young man in white. The woman's wet hair and sad face were full of indescribable charm. She was just politely curling her lips, but she was full of unique charm. The woman wrung out her wet clothes, took out a handkerchief and wiped them gently, and her beautiful eyes secretly looked at Shen Shucho from time to time. It was cold outside, but the temple seemed peaceful and harmonious. The old woman did not talk to Shen Shucho anymore, but sat quietly. Just a pair of turbid eyes, quietly looking at someone, not knowing what she was thinking. Time passed slowly like this. At this moment, a faint fragrance drifted into Shen Shuchu's nose. The wet woman suddenly came to the young man in white, and her moist hair gently hit him. The young man in white looked up in confusion. From this angle, you can see the alluring spring scenery, with the silk bellyband just sticking to the snow-white skin. As if she realized that she was too presumptuous, two blushes appeared on the woman's face. I'm sorry, sir, I just want to see what you are carrying behind you. The woman's voice was soft and charming. As soon as the woman finished speaking, she saw the young girl next to the young man in white looking at her with hostile eyes. The woman didn't care, but her body got closer. With this touch, the spring scenery on her chest was more prosperous, and the ambiguous atmosphere was surrounded. I'm carrying a sword. The young man in white smiled slightly. The young man in white was none other than Shen Shucho, and the girl next to him was Hu Baibai. It has been 3 years since I first met Hu Baibai. Then sir, can you show me? The woman said with seductive eyes and charming red lips. My sword will shed blood when it is unsheathed. Shen Shucho looked at him with a smile. Young master, you are so annoying. Why are you scaring me? The woman stroked her chest gently, her eyes were full of anger, and she looked very seductive. Then young master, do you think the sword is beautiful, or do you think I am beautiful? The woman's delicate body gently pressed on Shen Shuchu's arm, and a small hand as soft as boneless touched Shen Shuchu's body. Slide up. Soon, the small snake-like hand gradually traveled to Shen Shucho's abdomen, just as he was about to go deeper. Shen Shucho grabbed the hand and said calmly, I think my sword is more beautiful. Young master is disgusting, the woman said softly. But the next moment, the woman's expression suddenly changed. The sword box behind Shen Shucho suddenly opened, and a long sword floated into the air. You are actually a practitioner. The woman screamed. A crisis of death instantly enveloped the woman. Feeling the terrifying oppression, the woman turned around and tried to escape, but the next moment she was penetrated by a bright sword light. The soft body suddenly exploded, and a dark snake body fell to the ground. It's a pity that it's just a spirit beast. Shen Shucho shook his head. The old woman on the side was stunned by the sudden bloody scene. I almost forgot about you. Shen Shucho turned around and gave a smile. The old woman's face instantly turned cold, and her heart was extremely frightened. Seeing that her identity was revealed, the old woman's figure instantly flew towards the window, but Shen Shucho's sword was faster. In an instant, it turned into an afterimage, cutting off the escaping old woman. A corpse of a civet cat broken into 2 parts fell down. This trip went to Ningyuan town, where Shen Shucho was entrusted by the mayor to deal with the monsters here. In this life, the system did not provide Shen Shucho with any money, so he had to take on some demon-slaying tasks to support Hu Baibai. Now Hu Baibai is only 4 or 5 years old, and has not really started to embark on the journey of spiritual practice. After taking care of the 2 monsters, Shen Shucho was about to lead Hu Baibai away. I saw Hu Baibai's petite body turned away, and her pink and jade-carved little face was full of unhappiness. Okay, let's go now. Shen Shucho laughed dumbly, wondering what happened to this little guy. Master, why did you let that woman touch you? Hu Baibai pouted her little mouth and said fiercely. Shen Shucho stroked his forehead and said, they told me not to call me master. I just wanted her to relax her vigilance. In fact, Shen Shucho had already seen through the 2 demonic beasts in the spiritual silence realm, and they were just on his whim just now. Then master, hold me. Hu Baibai stretched out his hands and hummed. Shen Shucho smiled helplessly and immediately held the little fox in his arms. Ouch! The next moment, Hu Baibai opened his small mouth and bit Shen Shucho's shoulder, seeming to vent his dissatisfaction just now. Shen Shucho didn't care, since it didn't hurt him, just let her bite him. Shen Shucho walked out of the temple holding the heavy sword box on Hu Baibai's back, and walked away in the wind and snow. Master, can you please not let other women touch you in the future? The fox is white and waxy in the wind and snow. Good. Shen Shucho responded softly. Master, I can only touch it. Hu Baibai buried his head in Shen Shucho's arms and said softly. The sky has eyes. Thank you to the immortal master for killing the demon. This is the reward that everyone put together for the immortal master. Ningyuan town is small, not much larger than an average village, and can only accommodate a few hundred people. The mayor is an old man in his 60s, and behind him is a group of ordinary people. The wrinkled face was filled with tears, and a pair of withered hands handed over a heavy money bag. In just a few months, no less than 100 people in Ningyuan town died at the hands of monsters. This includes his 2 sons, and the people behind him are also victims. Although these monsters do not dare to blatantly massacre, they often cause casualties. Such things are already normal in the ordinary world. Since Shen Shucho left Shengqing Daozong, he has seen a lot of them in the past 3 years. For these monsters wreaking havoc in the world, ordinary people are living in dire straits. They will die at home or in the wild one day without knowing how to deal with the monster. Most ordinary people cannot find the path of a practitioner, and even if they can find one, most of them are casual practitioners. They also look down upon gold and silver in the world, and no one will risk it easily if there is no reward that is enough to impress them. Even if the small sect wants to take care of it, it doesn't have the strength for fear of suffering the monster's revenge. Most of the sects also don't want to spend time on these little monsters. A very small number of people are willing to eliminate demons in the human world, but there are so many demons that they cannot all be eliminated. Just like Shen Shucho's trip, it was just to quench Ningyuan Town's temporary thirst. Who knows if other monsters will appear to cause trouble after he leaves. It is my pleasure. Shen Shucho sighed secretly and supported the old man. This is all Shen Shucho can do now. The future land of Silverstream will be rewritten by Hu Baibai. Master Immortal, I have prepared meals for you, please come with the old man. The old man wiped away his muddy tears, took Shen Shucho's hand and left. Shen Shucho declined gratefully. I don't need to eat. Isn't it possible that the immortal master dislikes the fact that the food will not suit his taste? The old man was startled. No need, I have to rush back. Shen Shucho smiled, said nothing more, clasped his fists in respect, and then left with Hu Baibai in his arms. The money has been collected, so there will be no more left. Have a safe trip, immortal master. The old man said respectfully from behind. In the eyes of everyone, Shen Shucho gradually moved away and disappeared from sight. It's only 40 miles from Ningyuan Town to Jinshui Town, and Shen Shucho can be reached in a short time. Shen Shucho was quite silent along the way, feeling a little desolate about this world in his heart. Monsters are rampant, and the people are reduced to meat in their mouths, but few immortal cultivators are willing to take care of it. Shen Shucho often wondered, what is the purpose of cultivating immortality, the so-called immortality? Master, why do you want to kill the demon? Fox Baibai in her arms raised her pink face and made a milky sound. Shen Shucho smiled and touched her little head and said, because monsters are evil. Hearing this, his pale face suddenly became sad, and he didn't know what he was thinking. After a while, Shen Shucho heard the sound of sobbing coming from his arms. Hu Baibai's smart eyes were red, and he whispered, Master, are Baibai's parents evil too? Hu Baibai's petite body trembled slightly and she crawled into Shen Shucho's arms. Feeling Hu Baibai's fear in his arms, Shen Shucho realized that there was something wrong with his words. After all, Hu Baibai saw her parents die in the hands of the monks from the Maiden Palace. Although Hu Baibai's spiritual intelligence had not been opened at that time, the emotion in his heart was real. Shen Shucho gently touched Hu Baibai, seeming to feel the warmth in his hands. Hu Baibai's trembling body gradually calmed down, but the sobs still lingered. Small teardrops wet Shen Shucho's clothes. Not all monsters are evil, just as not all people are good. Good and evil are never heard through the ears, but must be seen with the eyes and the heart, and they can still be distinguished. Shen Shucho comforted softly. Is it evil for nothing? Hu Baibai asked, half understanding. Shen Shucho looked at the little fox white child in his arms with his eyes lowered. According to the prompts of the system, the original Hu Baibai witnessed the death of his parents again, and a seed of hatred towards the human race was planted in his heart. Hu Baibai's true identity is a celestial demon fox, and he is also the last fox clan on the entire Silver Stream continent. Hu Baibai has always had a hard time growing up. She not only has to face the pursuit of the human monks, but also beware of the greed of the demon clan. Step by step, the seeds of hatred in his heart turned into monstrous murderous intent. In the end, the entire human world was turned into purgatory by Hu Baibai. Not only that, even some demon clans died in the hands of the demonic Hu Baibai. Until the end, the entire Silver Stream continent was filled with the demonic energy that filled the sky. In the ending, Hu Baibai is lonely, but her fate is not the trajectory she wants. I think so in vain. Shen Shucho looked intently at Hu Baibai in his arms. Hu Baibai tilted his little head and thought about it seriously. I don't know, Baibai. If the master wants Baibai to be evil, Baibai will be a great evil demon. If the master wants Baibai to be good, then Bai Bai will be a great good demon. In short, I always obey my master. After his parents died, Shen Shucho became the most important person in Hu Bai Bai's young heart. Little Hu Bai Bai doesn't know the difference between good and evil. She only knows that what her master wants her to be, then Hu Bai Bai will definitely become like that. The master's words are the only truth in the world. The master is also the most important belief in Hu Bai Bai's heart, and no one can replace him. This is also the truth that Hu Bai Bai firmly believes in. It is higher than the sky and wider than the earth. Shen Shuchen touched Hu Bai Bai's little head and said with a smile, "Since you obey the master's words, you are often naughty." The fox in his arms, Bai Bai, twisted his body, his chubby little face flushed and protested, "Bai Bai is not naughty, the master is a bad guy." Shen Shucho looked at the little guy's protest and smiled without saying a word. Hu Bai Bai was very resistant when he first got together with Shen Shucho. Suddenly he came to an unfamiliar environment, and he was very wary. As soon as Shen Shucho came close to her, his hair was all over his body and he showed a fierce expression. After slowly getting to know Shen Shucho and beginning to accept him, his natural naughty nature emerged. The chickens and dogs that often ran into the town to make trouble, either chasing other people's chickens or damaging other people's vegetable fields, often caused trouble for Shen Shucho. In the end, Shen Shucho fed Hu Bai Bai the transformation pill, which made him feel better. At least he was not as flexible as before when he wanted to be naughty. Today is the 20th day of November in the year 405 of the Yinliu calendar. It was now the cold winter season in the Northern Territory, and snowflakes all over the sky were falling coldly on the land. Hu Bai Bai is also 4 years old, and the needle of her fate that is about to turn has moved a small part at this moment. Call. A cold wind blew. Crystal snowflakes are falling from the sky. Shen Shucho thoughtfully covered the snowflakes for Fox Bai Bai, but found that the little guy fell asleep at some point. The tip of her pink nose quivered, and Shen Shucho's lips burst into laughter. Shen Shu moved gently, pushing Hu Bai Bai into the evil place. Chapter 71. The snow fell quietly in the bamboo forest, and the snow was falling. The white snow fell quietly in the bamboo forest, like a layer of gauze, forming a different winter picture. In the small courtyard in the forest covered with heavy snow, a girl lay peacefully on a bamboo rocking chair, her body swaying slowly with the rhythm of the rocking chair, as if blending into the surrounding environment. A waterfall of black hair fell on the edge of the rocking chair, and the cold wind blew, coldly caressing the delicate and beautiful face. With half-closed eyebrows, she looked at the gate from time to time, as if waiting for someone to return. In this quiet courtyard, there was only the sound of the rocking chair and the falling snowflakes. How long will it take for senior brother to come back? The girl's voice was anxious but also full of expectation. It had been 3 years since she last saw senior brother. After that, she never saw senior brother appear in Dao sect again. Zuo Shu often asked her master about this, but Feng Yangxi always looked worried and didn't want to mention anything about senior brother. Zuo Shu didn't understand what happened, but the girl's feeling told her that something bad must have happened. Zuo Shu once secretly wanted to go down the mountain to look for senior brother, but was stopped by her master. Later, several major Dao sects jointly developed a secret realm, and countless qualified disciples entered together. This included Zuo Shu, and it was 3 years later before she came out again. Zuo Shu retreated in Dao sect for a while and stabilized her cultivation in the Golden Core realm. Then she was found by Feng Yangxi and said something that made Zuo Shu confused. "Your senior brother will die one day in the future." This was Feng Yangxi's first sentence to Zuo Shu. Just one sentence made Zuo Shu stunned. Zuo Shu thought that the master was joking with her, but she found that Feng Yangxi looked very serious, and there was a trace of sadness in his dull eyes. Since when, Feng Yangxi no longer had the glory of the past, and often locked himself in a secret room. Even if he could be seen occasionally, he could clearly sense that the master was in a somewhat depressed state. Combined with this sentence, Zuo Shu's heart trembled fiercely. Zuo Shu doesn't want my senior brother to die. This was Zuo Shu's response to Feng Yangxi. She didn't want the senior brother she liked in her heart to die one day. Although she didn't know what happened, Zuo Shu subconsciously didn't want to never see her senior brother again. "I have a way that you are willing to try, which can make your senior brother fine, and will also let him return to Dao sect to stay with you forever." Feng Yangxi looked at Zuo Shu and said. Hearing this, Zuo Shu said without thinking. Zuo Shu is willing, as long as senior brother will not die, Zuo Shu is willing to do anything. Every day without seeing Shen Shucho is a torture for Zuo Shu. If she can really let senior brother stay with her forever, Zuo Shu is willing to do anything. When you go down the mountain to see your senior brother, no matter who is around him, you must kill him. As long as you kill the things around him, your senior brother will come back. Feng Yangxi explained seriously. Zuo Shu was stunned. She wanted to ask the master why he knew what was around senior brother. Feng Yangxi refused to say anything, but just told him that as long as he killed the things around Shen Shucho, senior brother would return to Dao sect and stay with him forever. Zuo Shu landed in this small courtyard with full of doubts and expectations. Lying on the rocking chair, she could even smell the unique smell of senior brother. Senior brother, why are you unwilling to come back? Zuo Shu was confused. Rustle. At this moment, there was a rustling sound outside the bamboo door. That was the sound of feet stepping on the snow. Zuo Shu stood up from the rocking chair with a look of surprise. Feeling the footsteps outside the door getting closer and closer, Zuo Shu's heart was pounding at this moment. She stared at the crack of the door with expectation, afraid of missing every breath of time. At this moment, the bamboo door was gently opened with a creak sound, and a white figure slowly walked in. His long hair fell behind him like a waterfall, swaying gently with his steps. There were a few snowflakes on his hair. His eyes were deep and bright, shining like cold stars, and his cold face was shrouded in white mist. Zuo Shu was stunned for a while. Although she hadn't seen him for 3 years, she still recognized him at a glance. This was her long-cherished senior brother. Shen Shucho walked into the courtyard holding the sleeping fox Bye-Bye, only to find an unexpected person waiting here, his junior sister Zuo Shu. There was only a flash of surprise in his eyes. Yes, but nothing else. Zuo Shu saw her senior brother looking at her with an expression of joy on her beautiful face, but there was a hint of disappointment in her eyes. Because the senior brother looked at her as if he were seeing a stranger, Zuo Shu felt a little uncomfortable. But Zuo Shu didn't want to worry so much. The joy of meeting again after a long separation deeply suppressed the disappointment. He stood on tiptoe and was about to run over, wanting to embrace senior brother Shi's strong arms as before. However, the person in front of him stretched out a hand to interrupt Zuo Shu's actions. Shish, don't wake her. Shen Shucho gently pointed at Hu Bye-Bye in his arms and said. Listening to Shen Shucho's voice, Zuo Shu realized that there was a little girl in his arms. He looked only 3 or 4 years old, and then thought that his senior brother had left Daozong 3 years ago. A bold guess emerged in Zuo Shu's heart. This can't be my senior brother's daughter. What kind of woman can marry senior brother? Is this the reason why senior brother gave up the trial in the secret realm of Dao sect? Zuo Shu couldn't help but step back and put her hands on her chest. At this moment, her heart hurt so much that she couldn't breathe. Looking at that gentle and watery gaze, Zuo Shu felt even more suffocated in the air. The senior brother had never looked at her like this before. They hadn't seen each other for 3 years, and seeing him again was not a familiar scene in Zuo Shu's mind. The current senior brother made Zuo Shu feel so strange. Senior brother. Zuo Shu turned her back, a trace of tears slipped silently, and she said with a salty bitterness in her mouth. Well, the master is home. Hu Bye-Bye arched her arms comfortably, opened her sleepy eyes, and let out a milky sound. Zuo Shu on the other side turned around sharply, her tear-stained pretty face extremely shocked. She didn't wait for her senior brother's words, but she waited for this sentence. Zuo Shu stayed on the spot in shock, as if a thunderbolt struck in her mind. She heard something. His disbelieving eyes looked back and forth at the unfamiliar Shen Shucho. The senior brother actually asked his daughter to call him master. Why does senior brother have such a hobby in his heart? Hey, master, who is she? Hu Bye-Bye also noticed Zuo Shu at this moment, pointing with his little finger. Shen Shucho saw Zuo Shu's expression and knew that Hu Bye-Bye had misunderstood her. Baby Bye, please go back to the house first, and I'll have a few words with her alone. Shen Shucho said softly. No, master carries Bye-Bye in. Hu Bye-Bye rolled in his arms and said coquettishly. Shen Shucho smiled helplessly and had no choice but to carry Hu Baibai into the room to calm down the little guy. Then he walked out and took Zuo-shu to another room. After making tea, he sat down. During this period, Zuo-shu kept her face lowered and her eyes lowered, wondering what she was thinking. When the familiar yet unfamiliar figure sat opposite her, Zuo-shu raised her delicate face with raindrops. There seemed to be some determination in his lustful eyes, and he pursed his lips slightly and said, "Senior brother, I can also call you master, and I can also have a baby with you." Puff! Shen Shucho sprayed a mouthful of hot tea on the ground. Zuo-shu looked at Zuo-shu with shocked eyes. These are all words of tiger and wolf. What others can do, Zuo-shu can do the same. Zuo-shu can also call the master to serve the senior brother, and she can also give birth to many babies for the senior brother. Zuo-shu said seriously, with a strange light shining in her eyes. Ahem. Shen Shucho was startled and coughed twice. Zuo-shu can do better than others, senior brother, master, so can I have many babies with Zuo-shu. Two blushes were slightly rippling on the left dimple, and she looked at it with her moist eyes. Although Zuo-shu felt that the master was too ashamed, it was not impossible if the target was her senior brother. Stop, stop, stop. Shen Shucho said quickly. If Zuo-shu is allowed to continue talking, it will only become more and more outrageous. Senior brother, don't you like it? A trace of disappointment appeared on Zuo-shu's face. Sure enough, I am not the one that my senior brother likes the most. Zuo-shu murmured in her heart. She is not my daughter. As for what the master says, it's not what you think. Shen Shucho said with shame. How could he feel that everything he met was somewhat perverted? This really gives him a headache as a normal person. Ah, senior brother, aren't you married? Zuo-shu covered her mouth and exclaimed. No, I picked her up. Shen Shucho took a sip of tea and continued, how did you know I'm here? When she learned that Shen Shucho was not married and that the girl was not her daughter, she breathed a sigh of relief. When she heard this question again, Zuo-shu also remembered the purpose of coming today and said, Master asked me to come. When will you return to the sect, senior brother? I won't go back, it's nice here. Shen Shucho said calmly. Is it because of her? Zuo-shu's heart trembled, and the words her master said echoed in her mind. No matter who is next to him, as long as he kills her senior brother, he can return to the sect and stay with you forever. So the reason why the senior brother did not return to the sect and was willing to give up the secret realm of the Dao sect was the little girl in his arms. Yes, Shen Shucho didn't hide anything. Why? Zuo-shu couldn't believe it when she heard Shen Shucho's decisive words. There is no reason for this, everyone's choice is different. Shen Shucho smiled. Seeing such a free and easy Shen Shucho, Zuo-shu felt a sense of injustice in her heart. Is it worth it for her? I gave up the Dao sect secret realm for her senior brother. Now 3 years have passed. Senior brother, you are still at the peak of the Golden Core realm. I am almost catching up with you. Zuo-shu defended Shen Shucho against injustice. Is cultivation really that important? Looking at the indignant Zuo-shu, Shen Shucho smiled calmly. Zuo-shu was shocked when she heard this. Still retorted in a low voice, isn't it just for the purpose of our cultivation? This is your way, but not mine. Shen Shucho said. But, Zuo-shu still wanted to persuade her senior brother. In Zuo-shu's mind, isn't the so-called cultivation of immortality just for cultivation? When cultivating immortality, isn't it the pursuit of immortality? The reason why I embarked on cultivating immortality is not to be stepped on by others. Isn't it just for one day to stand alone on the top of Yunshan Mountain and look down on the whole world? Enough. Shen Shucho stopped, drank the tea in the cup, stood up slowly, and said calmly, not everyone pursues cultivation. Each of us has his own destiny, and we have our own destiny from birth. Something that must be done. Shen Shucho walked up to Zuo-shu and patted her shoulder and said, go back. Tell the master that Shucho is unfilial and has failed his expectations. After saying this, Shen Shucho walked out of the room, only to find a small figure squatting under the window, with fox white ears sticking up against the wall. Hu Baibai, what are you doing? Seeing Hu Baibai's appearance, Shen Shucho couldn't help but feel funny, and immediately squatted down and joked. But he saw Hu Baibai trembling slightly and turning his face, with a pair of spiritual eyes filled with sadness that was difficult to hide. What's wrong? Seeing this, Shen Shucho touched Hu Baibai's little head and said, Master, don't you want it in vain? The fox white and pink little face said unhappy. Looking at Hu Baibai, Shen Shucho suddenly realized that this little guy had heard those words. How could I not want Hu Baibai? Woolen cloth. Quote, Shen Shucho said softly. After Hu Baibai got the answer he wanted, he immediately threw himself into his arms. The little head with a ball head was rubbed back and forth in the arms. Shen Shucho smiled and coaxed her gently. I will not abandon Baibai, I swear. Zuo Shu appeared behind her and quietly stared at Shen Shucho, whom she had never seen before. Seeing the extreme tenderness of his senior brother, a sad feeling emerged in his heart. Senior brother's tenderness has never been given to her, just like Zuo Shu's feelings have never been given to others. After Zuo Shu entered the Taoist sect and became Feng Yangxi's fourth disciple, her tenderness was shown to Shen Shucho at the first sight. As they gradually came into contact, Zuo Shu's affection for Shen Shucho became deeper and deeper. Although Shen Shucho's performance was mediocre every time, Zuo Shu never gave up. She was thinking that sooner or later, her senior brother would be impressed. But after so long, the senior brother has changed and become even stranger, even that touch of familiarity is about to be erased. The source of all this is the little girl in my senior brother's arms. It's all my fault that she took away the senior brother who should have belonged to me. Senior brother's tenderness, senior brother's body, and senior brother's arms should all belong to me. A trace of hatred grew in Zuo Shu's heart, her eyes gradually turned cold, and her murderous intent flashed away. At first, Zuo Shu had some unclear questions about Feng Yangxi's words, but now she understood everything. The culprit is this little girl who comes from nowhere, trapping the senior brother here, and willing to let the talented senior brother give up his future. Kill her. Just kill her. Kill her and the senior brother can return to her hand. Kill her. There seemed to be a voice roaring deep in Zuo Shu's heart, constantly stimulating Zuo Shu's nerves. Zuo Shu tightly controlled the killing intent that was almost overflowing. Once the murderous intention overflows, senior brother will be able to detect it immediately. Moreover, it would be impossible to kill her here. She would definitely not be able to succeed if her senior brother was present. Moreover, her current strength is not enough and she cannot beat her senior brother. More importantly, Zuo Shu didn't want to kill her in front of her senior brother. Hu Baibai seemed to feel a cold malice, and his petite and exquisite body couldn't help but crawl into his arms. A pair of warm palms pressed against the fox's white back, gently comforting him. Hu Baibai in his arms felt the sense of security coming from Shen Shucho and slowly calmed down. You go. After comforting Hu Baibai, Shen Shucho said calmly. Listening to Shen Shucho's emotionless words, Zuo Shu's body trembled slightly, her face full of bitterness, and she said, Senior brother, are you going to drive me away? No, I just think it's time for you to leave. Shen Shucho was calm and didn't say much. Brother, I will come back. Zuo Shu pursed her lips and said seriously. Shen Shucho hummed lightly. Senior brother, I will definitely come back. Zuo Shu looked at Shen Shucho's back and shouted loudly. Whatever. Shen Shucho said neither salty nor lightly. Zuo Shu left, looking back at the snow-colored bamboo forest in a daze. The dimness in her eyes gradually became firmer, and one day she would come back here again. At this moment, Feng Yangxi's words were no longer just a task in Zuo Shu's heart, but evolved into her mission. Although Zuo Shu didn't know what kind of magical power that little girl had, she was willing to let her senior brother give up his promising future and live here. There is no reason for this, no matter what the situation is. Zuo Shu only knew that her senior brother only belonged to her. She will definitely come back here again and kill her with her own hands to rescue her senior brother and return. Every day without her senior brother was a torment for Zuo Shu. Senior brother, Zuo Shu will definitely come back. You must wait for me. Zuo Shu murmured in a firm voice, took one last look in the direction of her senior brother, then turned and left. The white falling snow gently touched Zuo Shu's body, and the cold wind blew through her hair, revealing her unusually stubborn face. Gradually, Zuo Shu's back was submerged in the snow between heaven and earth, like a poignant white rose, representing her pure and flawless love only for Shen Shucho. When I arrived, my beautiful eyes were looking forward to it, and my heart was filled with expectations, just to see the figure hidden deep in my heart. But Zuo Shu was disappointed. Her senior brother had changed, and she no longer recognized him. He had become a stranger. But these are not important anymore, she just remembers that she will definitely come back. Master, who is she? The little fox in his arms said timidly. She just felt an extreme malice from Zuo Shu, which made Hu Baibai very uncomfortable and subconsciously wanted to escape. She is my junior sister. Shen Shucho smiled and touched the fox white head in his arms. Master, I don't like her, please don't let her come next time. I don't want to see her in vain. In the fox white eyes, there was a strong unhappiness on his face. Hu Baibai is still a child, so naturally he won't hide his words in his heart and will say whatever comes to his mind. She is a demon of the sky fox. Even though she is still young, she has always been very sensitive to human emotions. The malice revealed by Zuo Shu made Hu Baibai subconsciously dislike her. Okay, it's all for nothing, Shen Shucho said softly. Ouch. When Hu Baibai heard Shen Shucho say this again, his chubby little face immediately became happy. He opened his small mouth slightly and bit Shen Shuchu's face, then stretched out his cute little tongue and licked it gently. For Hu Baibai, doing this means she likes him. Standing in the snow-covered courtyard, Shen Shucho sighed secretly when he noticed Zuo Shu's aura disappearing. How could Shen Shucho not know how Zuo Shu felt about him, but he just didn't want to accept it. Shen Shucho noticed the little details like the girl's affectionate look and the expressive expression in her eyes. He was not from this world, and death was Shen Shucho's final destination. Shen Shucho's original intention was not to hurt anyone's heart, and his outward indifference was also to dissuade them. However, things often develop in a direction beyond Shen Shucho's expectation. Whether it was Wen Yuning, who fell in love with him at first sight in the real life of Tianwu, or Zuo Shu, his younger junior sister who had been in love with him for a long time. The deeper you get involved with him, the harder it will end. This is what Shen Shucho doesn't want to see. Shen Shucho knew that Zuo Shu would not give up just like that, so he could only take one step at a time. At the moment, Shen Shucho could only take good care of Hu Baibai, who was twisting in his arms. As for the rest of the people, he could only do his best. In this life, Hu Baibai will have to postpone it for 5 years. At that time, it was also the first part of Shen Shucho's death. In the days to come, except for having a white-furred fox-eared girl at home, life was not much different. As Hu Baibai grew older, he did not escape being arranged by Shen Shucho to attend a school in the town. This is a hurdle that every child must face, and Hu Baibai is no exception. In addition to enjoying his free time part of the time, Shen Shucho also has to go out to take on some demon-slaying tasks to earn some food for Hu Baibai. Spring passes and autumn comes, day and night alternate, time flies by. 5 years have passed in the blink of an eye, and it seems like it was yesterday. It was midsummer in June of the year 410 in the Yinliu calendar. Time flies, Hu Baibai has already passed this year. At the age of 9, the little girl who only stayed in Shen Shucho's arms and acted coquettishly has now grown into a graceful little girl. The biggest change is Hu Baibai's character. Although the previous Hu Baibai was a bit naughty, he was better at being obedient. Now Hu Baibai is not only naughty and disobedient, but also slowly shows his desire to control Shen Shucho. Since Shen Shucho slayed the demon, his reputation in the world has been growing. People often come to visit him, including not only wealthy businessmen, but also low-level casual cultivators. Naturally, social interactions were avoided. Once Shen Shucho started chatting and laughing with anyone of the opposite gender, Hu Baibai would get angry and even ignore him for several days. Shen Shucho also left her to deal with this, and it wouldn't be a few years anyway. Sometimes Shen Shucho is really lazy, and his biggest hobby is to lie down and soak up the sun. Boom! Not long after Shen Shucho lay down, the closed bamboo door was pushed open. Shen Shucho knew who was back without even opening his eyes. The sound of brisk footsteps sounded, and a faint fragrance passed into Shen Shucho's nose. Then a warm body threw itself heavily into Shen Shucho's arms. Master, have you ever wanted to go in vain? Hot breath blew into his ears, and a soft voice sounded. I haven't seen you for a few hours. Shen Shucho was pinned down and smiled helplessly. Don't say that. Master, please tell me if you want it to be in vain. There will be a reward. Hu Baibai gently opened Shen Shuchou's closed eyes and said with a smile. 5 years have passed, and the plump fox Baibai has undergone earth-shaking changes. A face as delicate as a blooming peach blossom, with a hint of charm in its pink color. Like the willow leaves dancing in the spring breeze, the waves in her eyes are like the twinkling stars in the morning light, and there is no lack of charm. Seeing that Shen Shuchou was indifferent, Hu Baibai cunningly put his hand into the creaking nest and started scratching it. Shen Shuchou frowned and decisively chose to surrender. I've thought about it. Then master, close your eyes and you will be rewarded in vain. Fox Baibai's legs were straddling Shen Shuchou's body, and his arrogant little face was filled with a smile of victory. Shen Shuchou didn't know what this little girl was going to do, but if she wasn't allowed to enjoy herself, she would probably start making trouble again. Just close your eyes and let her do it, as long as it's not too much. Master, please don't open your eyes. Hu Baibai continued. Good. Shen Shuchou agreed gently. The fox's white lips were slightly raised, revealing a wicked smile, like a ripe cherry that made people want to kiss it. The next moment she leaned down and gently touched Shen Shuchou's thin lips with her moist red lips. It's as easy as a dragonfly tapping water. Shen Shuchou showed no expression at all. It was not like Hu Baibai had never done this kind of thing before. Just treat her as a child and let her temper prevail. Shen Shuchou, who thought this was the end, was about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. A restless little hand suddenly grabbed some kind of soft foreign object. Fox Baibai. Shen Shuchou stood up with a gloomy face and quickly lifted Hu Baibai off his body. Master, you are lying. You promised me nothing but didn't open your eyes. Fox Baibai's pretty face turned red, and her small Changbi snorted in dissatisfaction. Who asked you to do this? Shen Shuchou said solemnly. Seemingly aware that Shen Shuchou was angry, Hu Baibai lowered his head. How could you do this? Who taught you this? Shen Shuchou squatted down and supported Hu Baibai and asked. Hu Baibai turned away, with tears glistening in his eyes. It's taught in books, Hu Baibai whispered. When Shen Shuchou heard this, he laughed angrily and said, Hu Baibai, you have learned to lie now, haven't you? Whose school can teach this? I didn't lie, and I'm not a student in the school. Fox White Thin Mosquito Fly retorted. When he heard that the book was not from the school, Shen Shuchou also reacted and said expressionlessly, Where is the book? Go get it for me. Hu Baibai stood still, his shoulders shaking slightly. Give it to me, don't let me say Hu Baibai a third time. Shen Shuchou's tone gradually became more serious. Hu Baibai reluctantly moved towards the house. She also knew that this move really angered the owner. Even though she was usually naughty, whether she was hitting people in school or being arrogant and willful, Shen Shuchou was not like this today. Watching Hu Baibai leave, Shen Shuchou sighed helplessly, wondering if he really doted on her too much. After a while, Hu Baibai came over with a book in his hand, and still handed the book to Shen Shuchou with a shameless face. Shen Shuchou took the book, opened it and flipped through a few pages, his face becoming more and more gloomy. It is full of indescribable words and some illustrations. When Hu Baibai had such a book, he had no idea. After just flipping through a few pages, Shen Shuchou gathered the sword energy in his hand and tore the book into countless pieces in an instant. Did you buy this kind of book with the silver I gave you? Shen Shuchou pulled Hu Baibai's little hand. Don't be cruel to Baibai. Baibai is doing it for your master's good. Hu Baibai raised his tear-stained face and said. Shen Shuchou was stunned. The book says that if you don't solve it for a long time, it will get damaged. Baibai doesn't want the owner to get damaged. Hu Baibai whispered. Shen Shuchou knew that he had to talk some sense to Hu Baibai. What the book says is false. You have to know that there are differences between men and women. How can you do this easily? Shen Shuchou said sincerely. The master is not someone else, so why not? Hu Baibai said unwillingly. Shen Shuchou said in a different way. This is something that can only be done between husband and wife. Shen Shuchou thought that Hu Baibai would understand what he said, but he didn't expect that Hu Baibai still didn't change his words. Then it would be better if Baibai is the master's wife. Shen Shuchou felt a little tired. Why was Hu Baibai in the second life more difficult to take care of than Zhang Qianqiu? What are you thinking about in your little head all day long? Shen Shuchou's tone was helpless. Thinking about Master. Hu Baibai blurted out without any hesitation. Shen Shucho fell silent immediately. Master, please don't be angry in vain. Hu Baibai picked up Shen Shucho and shook him gently. Then you promise me you won't do this again, and you won't read that kind of book again. Shen Shucho said. Oh well. Hu Baibai pouted his mouth and said. Boom. Shen Shucho gently tapped Hu Baibai's little head and said seriously, what do you mean? Okay. This kind of thing must not happen again in the future. Then the master is not angry in vain. Hu Baibai whispered. I'm not angry anymore, Shen Shucho said helplessly. He can't stay angry all the time, just explain the reason to this little guy. Hearing that Shen Shucho was no longer angry again, Hu Baibai could no longer hold back his emotions. With a cry, tears fell down. He dove into Shen Shucho's arms and bit him on the shoulder. Her little body trembled in her arms, and she held Shen Shucho's waist with both hands. From now on, I will review my homework for an hour every day when I come back. Shen Shucho had no intention of letting Hu Baibai go just like that. Who knew what else she would do if she didn't discipline her? As soon as these words came out, Shen Shucho could clearly feel the body of the fox in his arms stiffen. The master is a big bad guy and will bully Baibai. Baibai will ignore you. Hu Baibai got out of his arms and ran back to the room with a soft hum. Looking at leaving Fox Baibai, Shen Shucho's mood still did not relax. Hu Baibai is already like this at the age of 9. What will happen if she embarks on the path of spiritual practice in the future? Shen Shucho suddenly felt that the ending of this life would be different. Hu Baibai said to ignore Shen Shucho, but after dinner, he would stick to Shen Shucho and tell her stories. Ever since Shen Shucho told her about the differences between men and women, although Hu Baibai didn't do anything like that again, he still thought about Shen Shucho's lips every day. The peaceful days will eventually be broken one day. Another month passed in the blink of an eye, and in the early morning of this day, Shen Shucho was interrupted by a letter. Shen Shucho picked up the envelope that fell on the rocking chair in the courtyard, opened it and frowned immediately. There were only 9 short words in the letter, but it made Shen Shucho's heart skip a beat. Senior brother, come to Falling Sun Valley to save me. This was Zuo Shu's letter, and Shen Shucho was shocked. Shen Shucho had no doubt at all, because the letter still had Zuo Shu's breath. Even so, Shen Shucho still had some doubts in his heart. Falling Sun Valley is a place full of mystery and danger. It is shrouded in a strange gray fog all year round. Ordinary monks would never enter it, because there are only dangers and no opportunities. Why did Zuo Shu appear in that place? Was she being hunted? But Yuri Valley is only 350 miles away from Shengqing Dao sect. Even if there is danger, why not ask Master Feng Yangxi for help instead of me? Could there be some hidden secret? Shen Shucho wondered in his heart. The last time I saw Zuo Shu was 5 years ago. I vaguely remember that she only left one sentence before she left, I will come back. But during these 5 years, Shen Shucho never saw him again. Initially, Shen Shucho breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that Zuo Shu had given up in her heart. But he didn't expect that the news about her again would come in the form of a letter. That's all. Let's take a look. Shen Shucho's confused expression slowly relaxed. No matter what, he was Zuo Shu's senior brother, so he should go and see him this time, not to mention that Zuo Shu had long regarded Shen Shucho as someone close to him. Although Shen Shucho was unwilling to accept it, he could not let Zuo Shu step into danger without hesitation. Since he decided to go find out, it was better to go as soon as possible. The later he went, the greater the danger Zuo Shu would face. Shen Shucho immediately woke up Hu Baibai, who was still sleeping. He couldn't leave Hu Baibai alone at home. What's wrong, master? Hu Baibai rubbed his sleepy eyes and his voice was waxy. Go out with me. Shen Shucho didn't say much, and simply asked Hu Baibai to get dressed quickly and get up. Oh, Hu Baibai didn't ask too much about the reason. In her heart, she would go wherever her master went. She is like her master's little tail, and she follows him wherever he goes. The big one and the small one simply tidied up, and after Hu Baibai had finished his breakfast, he left the small courtyard in the forest. Along the way, Shen Shucho looked grave and didn't say a word. Master, where are we going? After all, Hu Baibai, who was protected by Shen Shucho, couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked. Go save people, Shen Shucho said calmly. Hu Baibai's little head was stunned. Save someone, save someone. One day later, two figures, one large and one small, landed near the Falling Sun Valley. From departure to the nearby area, there was not much delay along the way. Falling Sun Valley is located among the mountains. The undulating mountains are like a winding dragon, surrounding Falling Sun Valley. From this angle, the fog below heavily blocks the view, like a natural veil, full of mystery. As soon as he arrived here, Shen Shucho noticed something was wrong. In the past, Falling Sun Valley could be considered a desolate land, and basically no monks would come here. But now the cliffs of Falling Sun Valley are surrounded by many figures. Shen Shucho even saw many famous sect disciples. Ever since Shen Shucho left Shangqing Dao sect, he didn't know anything about the world of immortality. He didn't know why there were so many people in the Falling Sun Valley now. Excuse me, brother, please tell me what happened in Falling Sun Valley and why there are so many people here. Shen Shucho immediately grabbed a casual cultivator and asked him. The casual cultivator immediately looked over with a surprised expression. You don't even know this. The casual cultivator looked at Shen Shucho suspiciously, but found that he could not see clearly the man's cultivation level, and he was holding a little girl behind him. I come from a remote place, and this is my first time here today, so I don't know much about it. Shen Shucho smiled slightly. I don't know much about this, but I heard that there is a secret treasure in the Falling Sun Valley, and some people even saw it. The casual cultivator still answered. Thank you, brother. After hearing this, Shen Shucho thanked Hu Baibai and left. In his heart, he was digesting the information just given by the casual cultivator, and there was a secret underneath. Shen Shucho immediately set his sights on Hu Baibai. The prompt on the system is that Hu Baibai embarked on the path of spiritual practice at the age of 9. Could it be that this place is the cultivation entrance prepared by the system for Hu Baibai? At this moment, Hu Baibai on the side seemed to have lost his mind, his eyes were glazed in place. After arriving here, a strange sense of familiarity emerged deep in Hu Baibai's heart. It seemed like I had been here before a long time ago. There was suddenly a fog in his head, but no matter how hard Hu Baibai recalled, he couldn't break it. He has obviously always stayed with his master and never left. Even when he was still with his parents, he had no such memory. In addition, Hu Baibai also noticed a deep sense of uneasiness, and this finger pointed at Shen Shucho beside him. It was as if there was a sense of death surrounding her master. At this moment, two completely different voices seemed to appear in Hu Baibai's mind. Come quickly, I've been waiting for you for a long time. No, if you can't go in, the owner will be in danger. Two strange feelings and sounds mixed together, making Hu Baibai miserable. As if aware of Hu Baibai's movements, Shen Shucho looked back and said, What's wrong, Baibai? Master, how about leaving here with Baibai? Hu Baibai's eyes flashed with pain, and tears could be seen vaguely. The beautiful face that used to be bright and sunny is now covered with uneasy fear. Her delicate body trembled slightly, and a small hand firmly grasped Shen Shucho's big hand. It's okay for nothing. Shen Shucho was also basically certain that the Falling Sun Valley was the beginning of Hu Baibai's practice. In this case, it is even more impossible for him to leave. Isn't his destiny in this world just to help Hu Baibai become the heavenly demon emperor in advance? Perhaps the Valley of the Falling Sun is the first step to one's own death, and it is also the final tomb. But Shen Shucho didn't have any timidity, after all, it was his fate. Master, please, don't go, it's all for fear. Hu Baibai's voice trembled, and he looked at Shen Shucho with pleading eyes. Seeing this, Shen Shucho knelt down, gently wiped away Hu Baibai's tears, and said in a gentle tone, I will protect Baibai, trust me. Shen Shucho only thought that Hu Baibai was afraid, but did not know that what Hu Baibai was really afraid of was losing him. If this was a sense of security, Hu Baibai would definitely choose to believe it without any reservation. But here, the uneasy feeling in Hu Baibai's heart could not be shaken off for a long time. No, no, no. Hu Baibai shook his head and grabbed Shen Shucho's arm with both hands, trying to dispel this idea. Looking at Hu Baibai's frightened look, a flash of pity flashed in Shen Shucho's eyes. Zuo Shu's letter for help and the beginning of Hu Baibai's practice were all placed in the Falling Sun Valley, which also made Shen Shucho aware of anything. Install. But even if he knew that the front was full of danger of death, Shen Shucho had to go on. Even if he dies, the person who dies will only be himself. Shen Shucho could also imagine how desperate Hu Baibai would be if he really died here, but there was nothing he could do to stop it. Knowing that he would die, Shen Shucho walked forward resolutely. He could only embrace death calmly and pray to be treated gently. Be good, bye-bye, and nothing will happen to you. Shen Shucho had no choice but to resort to the same rhetoric as coaxing children. It took a long while before the trembling Hu Baibai was calmed down. Then he held her little hand and walked toward the cliff. Hey, you can't go there. At this time, the casual cultivator called Shen Shucho. Why do you say that? Shen Shucho said in confusion. The casual cultivator pointed his finger and said, don't you see that there are all monks from the big sects over there? If you go there like this, you will offend them. Then a few casual cultivators will be kicked out, and a few people will even die. I think your cultivation level is pretty good, so you'd better not go there and seek death. These big sects are unreasonable. Hearing this, Hu Baibai also took the opportunity and said, Master, I'd better leave. Shen Shucho rubbed her little head and looked at San Shu. Thank you for reminding me, brother. But he still walked towards the cliff. Hey, why don't you listen? The casual cultivator was stunned. Easy words can't persuade a ghost who wants to die. Another casual cultivator sneered. It's a pity that it's that little girl. A pair of greedy eyes stared at Hu Baibai's back. There were even many casual cultivators who were ready to see Shen Shucho's jokes. Soon Shen Shucho led Hu Baibai to the cliff. Get out of here, this is not the place for a casual cultivator like you. At this moment, a brutal voice came. Two figures stopped in front of Shen Shucho. Can you two please be accommodating? I am a disciple of the Shengqing Dao sect. Shen Shucho said with a smile. What kind of wild boy dares to talk nonsense? Get out of here and don't force me to do anything. The monk on the left sneered. Shen Shucho still kept smiling and said, You too, I am really a disciple of the Shengqing Dao sect. You might as well let me in. If I don't come out again, there is no need to worry. If you don't want to leave, then get out. One of them was too lazy to talk nonsense with Shen Shucho, and his patience disappeared from his face. If they let this kid in, they would be derelict in their duty. Even though Shen Shucho had sworn to him, they didn't dare to let him go. There was a sound of cracking in the air, and a fist blast came straight towards Shen Shucho's face. Shen Shucho sighed slightly, and the sword energy surged from his fingertips to easily resist the punch. Shen Shucho did not choose to hurt anyone, but just fought him off. Go together. Seeing that he was repelled by the casual cultivators who appeared out of nowhere, his face suddenly lost its composure and he called on his companions to join him. The two men immediately began to attack from both sides, surrounding Shen Shucho in the middle. The fierce offensive continued to strike like a violent storm, and the moves were sinister and vicious. An ordinary casual cultivator would have been blown down the mountain at this moment. But the attacks of these two men were extremely slow in Shen Shucho's eyes, as weak as cotton, and Shen Shucho was able to resolve them easily. Now that the disciples of the sect were reappearing, Shen Shucho didn't want to be too high profile. Shen Shucho's step-by-step retreat did not make the two of them let go, but instead became more violent. The situation was at a stalemate for a while, and the faces of the two became increasingly ugly. Many monks from the sect even looked over. One of them had cold eyes, and then he took action to grab Hu Baibai behind him. This move immediately angered Shen Shucho. His eyes were fierce, and a terrifying murderous intent bloomed from his body. Immediately, he stopped giving in, and a sharp sword energy shot through the air in an instant. Boom! A huge head was thrown high. The headless body fell to the ground instantly, blood spurting out like a fountain. The other person was slightly stagnated by this sudden change. Before he could react, a fist and sword enlarged in his eyes, and a terrifying force was felt in his chest. Boom! The whole person flew upside down like a kite with its string cut off. His chest was collapsed by the huge force, his internal organs were shattered by the sword energy, and there was no sound at all. Shen Shucho's eyes were indifferent, as cold stars. His eyes glanced around the surroundings with a power that penetrated people's hearts. Shen Shucho may not cause trouble, but that doesn't mean he has a good temper. Anyone who moves the fox bye-bye will get the sword in his back first. In the blink of an eye, the situation that was still deadlocked just now was reversed in an instant. Their bodies were soaked in blood and lay lifeless on the cold rocks. Many sect monks looked at Shen Shucho. The casual cultivator just now was shocked and couldn't calm down for a long time. The other casual cultivators also looked at him as if they had seen a ghost. They were already surprised that Shen Shucho dared to fight against the sect disciples. They did not expect that Shen Shucho would dare to kill people in front of many sect disciples. This move was undoubtedly a slap in their face, and it was a recipe for death. No sect disciple could remain silent when being provoked like this by a casual cultivator. Sure enough, just after Shen Shucho dealt with the two of them, a figure fell in front of Shen Shucho. A terrifying aura rushed towards him, like a mountain pressing down heavily. This was a sense of oppression unique to the out-of-body realm. A pair of cold eyes looked at Shen Shucho from a high place. Hu Baibai's little face turned pale, and his little hands tightly grasped Shen Shucho's lapel. At this time, a big hand held the fox-white and boneless little hand in his hand, and the warm breath quietly brought her a sense of peace of mind. Shen Shucho stood up straight, his face as calm as water, without the slightest hint of fear. In the heavy sword box behind them, 7 long swords were shaking crazily. They could also feel the power of the person in front of them, and they all wanted to jump out of the sword box at this moment. This is not fear, but a fighting spirit that goes straight to the top of the clouds. The invisible sword intention field spread out on Shen Shucho, silently enveloping the woman in a blue dress in front of him. Kang Ranmu frowned slightly and stared at Shen Shucho with flashing eyes, not knowing what he was thinking. This Golden Core Realm person who appeared out of nowhere was actually able to remain motionless under the pressure of her out-of-body realm. Normally, monks in the Golden Core Realm would have been frightened to death in front of her. Shen Shucho's abnormal calmness made Kang Ranmu unhappy. And just now, there was a strange feeling rising in Kang Ranmu's heart. She actually sensed a hint of danger in a small golden elixir realm. This was the first time Kang Ranmu encountered this situation. She shook her head slightly to throw away this unrealistic feeling. Junior, who are you? You dare to kill sect disciples in public. This is an unpardonable crime. Kang Ranmu's voice was cold and he interrogated condescendingly. I dare to ask, Senior, the life of a casual cultivator is no longer life. Shen Shucho sneered. How presumptuous. I am asking you a question. Seeing that Shen Shucho dared to question him, Kang Ranmu immediately shouted coldly. In Kang Ranmu's heart, there is no difference between the so-called casual cultivators and ordinary people. They are just mere ants on the vast earth. It's just a cheap life, mediocre qualifications, and nothing more than a pig or a dog being slaughtered. I need to explain to you who you are. Shen Shucho smiled frivolously, strong self-confidence emerging from him. The more he keeps a low profile, the more he is treated as a little chicken that can be touched at will. If that's the case, then why not just be arrogant? As soon as these words came out, the whole mountain was in an uproar. Almost instantly all eyes were focused on Shen Shucho. Sneers, contempt, shock, etc. fell into his eyes. Where did this stupid boy come from? He must have drunk too much. Are all the casual cultivators these days desperate for their lives? Most of the sect disciples were whispering together. Compared with other sects, Shengqing Dao sect is very deserted. Sitting on a raised rock was a man who could only see the background. Sitting there was inconspicuous, but full of mystery, as if there was a layer of mist surrounding him. When he heard Shen Shucho's words again, the corners of his mouth rose slightly, and Ji Yu Jing Wubo's face was moved. Junior, you are seeking death. Kangran Mu Lengan was furious. Being contradicted by a junior in the Golden Core realm made her lose face in front of all the monks. It is difficult to quell this anger without killing this person. The white jade hand clapped down, and suddenly a powerful force crushed down on Shen Shucho. Facing this powerful force, Shen Shucho still maintained a confident look. Hey, you're not really going to watch her bully me and hit me, are you? Shen Shucho smiled at the man sitting on the rock. As soon as these words came out, Kang Ranmu was slightly startled, and then an afterimage of her passed by her. There was a familiar stern face in front of him. The man raised his hands gently and formed a fist, making a gesture to strike out. Kang Ranmu's delicate face was shocked, her pupils were shaking, and a sense of death crisis came over her instantly. Without hesitation, she quickly retreated backwards. The aura of heavenly might continued to rise on the person in front of her, her blood trembled and resonated, and the ground beneath her feet began to break into pieces. The fist ignited with flames, and the flames were overwhelming. Boom! The blazing fist light rushed straight into the sky, and the space seemed to be crushed. Kang Ranmu's means were crushed by this devastating punch, just like paper confiscations that caught fire. The punch was overwhelming, the sky was smoky, and the mountains and rivers were swallowed. The punch blasted Kang Ranmu's delicate body away. Kang Ranmu's face was pale, her feet tapped between the clouds, and blood flowed from the corners of her mouth. If she hadn't dodged quickly enough, this punch would have been enough to smash her to pieces. Ji Mo, you dare to hurt me and protect this casual cultivator. What do you mean by this? Kang Ranmu said in shock and anger. The other cultivators were also confused, not understanding why Ji Mo, who had always been a loner, would help this casual cultivator. For a moment, everyone speculated about the relationship between the two. At the same time, they were also deeply shocked by Ji Mo's strength. He is my junior brother, why can't Ji help him? Ji Mo looked at him coldly. Hearing this, Kang Ranmu didn't believe it at all, and said coldly, don't think I don't know your junior brother Song Yuhuan, junior sister Zuo Shu, when this person became your junior brother. If you don't explain this matter clearly and don't give me an explanation, I will definitely report it to the sect. Kang Ranmu continued, it's up to you. Ji Mo didn't like to talk much, only 2 short words, and then left with Shen Shucho. How could Kang Ranmu let him leave with a cold face? She immediately blocked him with her delicate body. Ji Mo, you must give me an explanation today. Ji Mo's cold eyes were indifferent. What kind of person are you? Why should I explain to you? You. Kang Ranmu's face darkened. Why did she seem to have heard this sentence just now? If you block my way again, how many punches do you think you can withstand from my hands? Ji Mo's tone did not hide the murderous intent at all. Feeling Ji Mo's terrifying murderous intent, and thinking of the embarrassment just now, Kang Ranmu looked at the few people in his eyes, and then turned and left. Kang Ranmu had never thought that she was weaker than Ji Mo before, but the punch just now completely shattered her unrealistic idea. Once the fight really started, Kang Ranmu would not think that she could withstand the power of 3 punches. Today's humiliation would never be hastily resolved. Kang Ranmu gritted his teeth and looked at the 3 people. I've been waiting for you for a long time. After dealing with the people who were in the way, Ji Mo looked at Shen Shucho this time. He glanced at Hu Baibai behind him, and his brows furrowed inadvertently. What the hell is going on? Shen Shucho casually found an open space and sat down. He stared intently at Ji Mo in front of him. As the first disciple of Feng Yangxi, he is also the strongest one. Next is the second senior brother Song Yuhuan, and then it is the turn of Shen Shucho and Zuo Shu. However, since Shen Shucho left the Shangqing Dao sect, his cultivation level still stayed at the Golden Core realm. During these 8 long years, the system did not improve Shen Shucho. Now Shen Shucho is at the bottom among several people, but he doesn't care much about his cultivation. Even if Shen Shucho was given the level of cultivation in the Mahayana stage, he would inevitably end up dead in the end. Among Feng Yangxi's 4 apprentices, Ji Mo has the most withdrawn personality. He is not good at negotiating with others and has always been a loner. No matter which junior brother was oppressed outside, Ji Mo would always find his place in obscurity in his own way. The second senior brother Song Yuhuan is warm-hearted and well-known as a good person, but his relationship with Shen Shucho is not very good because Song Yuhuan has always had a secret crush on his junior sister. Zuo Shu could not tolerate others in her eyes, she just wanted to stick to Shen Shucho's side every day. As for Shen Shucho, he was not from this world and would not accept Zuo Shu's affection at all. Now, after a long time, Shen Shucho met his senior brother Ji Mo again. Is it because of her that you left Shangqing Daozong? Ji Mo did not answer directly, but asked about Shen Shucho, pointing at Hu Baibai. Hu Baibai on the side felt a little uneasy, and his thoughts were attracted by the mist below the cliff. The closer to the falling sun valley, the deeper the sense of familiarity in Hu Baibai's heart. It was obviously her first time here, but she felt a strong sense of familiarity. There seemed to be an invisible thread in her heart, pulling her. Hearing this, Shen Shucho smiled and said, "Senior brother, why do you ask about this too? Master is not good enough for you. You left the sect without saying a word. Did you take the master seriously?" Ji Yumo's eyes were cold, and an invisible aura spread out from his words. Shen Shucho smiled lightly and said, "Senior brothers, everyone chooses a different path. So you are willing to give up your future for a demon clan. Do you know what you are doing?" Hearing Shen Shuchu's words, Ji Yumo felt angry and his tone became sharp. As soon as these words came out, Shen Shucho's face was suddenly shocked. He quickly stood up and protected Hu Baibai behind him. How did Ji Yumo figure out that Hu Baibai was from the demon clan? Under the cover of the system, Hu Baibai would never have demon aura if he never embarked on the path of cultivation again. Hu Baibai was also pulled back from the fog by these words, his petite and exquisite body hiding behind Shen Shucho. Her small white hands grabbed the corner of Shen Shucho's clothes, and she felt a strong killing intent from the man in front of her. There is no coexistence between humans and monsters. Junior brother, if you support the demon clan alone, you will be hunted down by monks all over the world. Do you know that? Seeing Shen Shucho's reaction, Ji Yumo sighed deeply in his heart. Ever since Feng Yangxi witnessed Shen Shucho rescuing Hu Baibai 8 years ago, he wanted to kill her, but was interfered by an invisible force. Later, he was imprisoned by this power in Shengqing Dao sect and could not go anywhere. It wasn't until Zuo Shu came out of the Daozong secret realm 3 years later that Feng Yangxi had the idea of letting Zuo Shu deal with Hu Baibai. However, Zuo Shu not only failed to deal with Hu Baibai, but this incident also became her inner demon. Then Feng Yangxi would rather exhaust his source to figure out Shen Shucho's only way out. Soon after, Feng Yangxi deduced that a strange phenomenon would occur in the Falling Sun Valley 5 years later, and this time it was Shen Shucho's way out. What happened 1 month ago was just as Feng Yangxi had deduced. A shocking phenomenon occurred in the Falling Sun Valley. Many sects came to find out what was going on, only to find that this place was blocked by heaven. Only monks in the nascent soul stage could enter. Only then did Shen Shucho come here, hoping to use the secret here to block that force and save Shen Shucho from his fate. From the moment Shen Shucho appeared here, Ji Yumo noticed that his eyes had been secretly looking at Hu Baibai. But he didn't feel any breath from her body. She was just an ordinary little girl, so Ji Yumo spoke to test her. Each of us has our own mission since birth, right? Shen Shucho smiled calmly. Shen Shucho's free and easy attitude made Ji Yumo silent for a moment. After a while he said, "You will die if you do this. Death is a necessary journey, and the end may not be darkness." Shen Shucho looked directly into Ji Yumo's eyes and said, "You can go, no one will know about this." Ji Yumo sighed in his heart and suddenly looked relieved. He was not as determined to interfere as Feng Yangxi, and he had seen Shen Shucho since he was a child. Although Ji Yumo was very angry, Shen Shucho gave up on them for a demon clan. But Ji Yumo can also see the relationship between Shen Shucho and the fox demon behind him. Moreover, this unknown path is his own choice, so Ji Yumo will not interfere. "I won't leave." Shen Shucho sat down again and said. Ji Yumo was stunned and looked at Shen Shucho in confusion. "Don't you still understand that Zuo Shu's letter for help is a fake? You guessed it when you came here." Shen Shucho smiled faintly. Ji Yumo froze on the spot, his mouth squirming, but he didn't know what to say. At this moment, he suddenly couldn't understand this junior brother anymore. Even though she knew it was a lie, she let him go, yet she was willing to stay. "Brother, because this is the way I want to go." Facing Ji Yumo's confusion, Shen Shucho said calmly. Looking at the fog below, Shen Shucho seemed to feel a sense of death cover him invisibly. Well, Ji Yumo sighed in his heart and didn't know what to say. "Can I help you with anything?" Ji Yumo spat out a few words. "Senior brother, please go back and tell the master that if there is another life, Shen Shucho will still be his disciple. I have been unfilial in this life." Shen Shucho stood up and said slightly melancholy. Then he took Hu Baibai's hand and slowly walked towards the mist below. Watching Shen Shucho's leaving figure, Ji Yumo didn't know what he was thinking. Master, your calculated opportunity may be miscalculated. Gu Mo murmured to himself. Feng Yangxi originally wanted to use Tianji to get rid of Hu Baibai in Falling Sun Valley. But Gu Mo felt that this place was likely to become Shen Shuchou's ancient burial ground. On the other side, inside the Shengqing Dao sect. Puff. In a secret room, Feng Yangxi was lying on the ground with disheveled hair. A large amount of blood spilled from his mouth, and he was holding something trembling in his hand. That was Shen Shuchou's fate card, but this fate card became extremely dark. Ever since Shen Shuchou rescued Hu Baibai 8 years ago, his fate has been getting darker day by day, but it has never changed like this time. The blackness almost swallowed up the remaining light. How so? It's impossible. My deduction is obviously correct. No, what went wrong? Feng Yangxi kept mumbling to himself. His expression was as if he were crazy, and his whole body was languid. The next moment, Feng Yangxi seemed to have thought of something, and his body shot straight into the sky. It's you who did it, isn't it? Come out here. What did my apprentice do wrong? Why did it have to be him? Get out of here and fight me openly if you can. Feng Yang looked crazy and shouted around. At this moment, he understood that his deduction was interfered with by the invisible force. The reason was that no one would disturb Shen Shuchou and Hu Baibai in the past 5 years. No matter how loud Feng Yangxi's voice was, there was no response from the sky. In front of the Falling Sun Valley, a thick gray fog shrouded the entire valley. This fog is like a huge mouth of the abyss, opening quietly, as if it wants to swallow everything in the world. The fog was so thick that it was impossible to see through it with the naked eye, as if it were a barrier blocking outside light and sound. A sense of deathly silence emerged from this gray mist, which invisibly shrouded Shen Shuchou in it. Master, please take Baibai out of here, please, don't go. Hu Baibai grabbed Shen Shuchou's hand and said tremblingly. The uneasy feeling that made Hu Baibai become more and more intense, as if the owner would never come out once he entered this place. Be good, Baibai. We have to go in here. There are things you need here. Shen Shuchou pinched Hu Baibai's face fondly and smiled. Baibai doesn't want anything. Baibai just wants his master. How about taking Baibai away with him? Hu Baibai shook his head, tears flashing in his eyes. Hu Baibai didn't want anything, even though there was a voice in her heart guiding her in. Hu Baibai just wanted to live quietly with her master for the rest of her life. She didn't want anything, but she couldn't lose her master. A flash of distress flashed in Shen Shuchou's eyes. If he could, he wouldn't want Hu Baibai to be happy, but there were some things that he couldn't decide. Zhang Qianqiu cannot escape his fate, and the same is true for Hu Baibai. Shen Shuchou's existence is just to speed up the progress bar. Don't worry Baibai, the master will always be there. Shen Shuchou held Hu Baibai in his arms and comforted him gently. The 9-year-old Hu Baibai is not as soft and cute as he was when he was a child. Then, regardless of Hu Baibai's resistance, Shen Shuchou stepped into the gray mist resolutely. The scene in the valley was gray, the air was filled with coolness, and gusts of cold wind blew by. Hesitating that his vision was blocked, Shen Shuchou could only move forward cautiously. As we walked deeper, the fog in front of us gradually faded away. Hu Baibai buried his head in Shen Shuchou's warm arms from beginning to end, his little body couldn't help but tremble slightly. Ha, you actually came so early this time. You actually let a man hold you, how could you become like this? Entering the Falling Sun Valley again, the voice in Hu Baibai's heart gradually became clearer. The sound was both familiar and strange to Hu Baibai's ears. Who are you? Hu Baibai couldn't help but ask in his heart. You haven't answered my question yet, who is this man? He is my master, Hu Baibai replied, feeling quite proud. It seemed that he was shocked by Hu Baibai's answer, and the voice in his heart suddenly disappeared. Just when Hu Baibai was still confused, the voice appeared in his heart again. Ha 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 ha, your master, this ant-like man will be your master. When did you, Hu Baibai, fall to the point of accepting a man as your master? You dirty fool, you dirty my body. The voice in my heart mocked mercilessly. Shut up, Hu Baibai couldn't help but yell out in anger. Shen Shuchou was stunned and said, I didn't say anything. I'm sorry, master, I just had a nightmare. Hu Baibai's pretty face turned red and she murmured softly. Fine, Shen Shuchou rubbed Hu Baibai's little head and said. He had noticed Hu Baibai's strangeness since he came to Falling Sun Valley, but it must have something to do with her practice, so he didn't ask much. Haha, look at Xiaoju, this little coquettish girl, she can also act coquettishly with men. The voice of ridicule in my heart came as expected. Shut up, who the hell are you? Hu Baibai asked angrily. You kill this man and I will tell you who I am. Is it because of this ant-like man that you came so early in this life? Hu Baibai listened to the meaning in his heart, as if he had met her before. What do you mean, have I seen you? Don't worry about this for now. Xiaoju, I will give you the power to kill the men around you first, then come to me, and finally kill all the monks who enter here. Whether you can become the nine-tailed sky demon depends on this time. A majestic voice sounded in Hu Baibai's heart. The tone was obviously the same, but it seemed to be coming from another person. Kill him and come to me quickly. The voice kept urging Hu Baibai to kill Shen Shucho. After the voice ended, Hu Baibai suddenly felt a powerful force suddenly coming within his body. The terrifying evil spirit arose in her body, filled with boundless violence. Shen Shucho's face didn't look strange, as if there was a force blocking him off, so he didn't notice the evil spirit on Hu Baibai in his arms. Seeing Shen Shucho so close at hand, the murderous intention in Hu Baibai's heart became stronger and stronger. Shut up, everyone, I don't know you, and I can't kill my master. Get out of my heart. Hu Baibai forcibly suppressed his murderous intent, his expression cold and his heart cold and angry. Suddenly, those voices disappeared. Hu Baibai hugged Shen Shucho tightly and forgot about the familiar voice in his heart. She would not kill her master. The master is the brightest light in her life. Hu Baibai cannot kill the master if he kills anyone. At this time, the sound of fighting came from in front of Shen Shucho. And a familiar voice came into my ears, it's you again, witch. This was the voice of his junior sister Zuo Shu, and Shen Shucho quickly ran away without hesitation. After a moment, the vision in front of him fell into Shen Shucho's eyes. Zuo Shu, who was wearing a long skirt, was seen side by side with a man in black, and in front of them appeared a woman in a red skirt who exuded a powerful aura. What's wrong, little sister? When I see my sister, she looks like she wants to eat her. Yu Lingwan covered her mouth charmingly and smiled sweetly. Go away, I'm not here to trouble you. Zuo Shu said with a disgusted expression. What's wrong, don't you, little sister, want to do something happy with your sister? Yu Lingwan smiled coquettishly. Junior sister asked me to come and meet her. A disdainful sneer appeared at the corner of Song Yuhuan's mouth. His figure appeared in the air like a ghost in an instant, as fast as a bolt of lightning. He stretched out a palm and slapped Yu Lingwan hard with an overwhelming momentum. This palm was like a thunderbolt, so majestic that it seemed to destroy everything in an instant. As Feng Yangxi's second disciple, Song Yuhuan's strength is undoubtedly strong, and he is in danger of death as soon as he takes action. Yu Lingwan's charming face changed slightly, and she felt the terrifying power from this palm. He immediately mobilized all his strength and collided with this palm. Boom! The two of them were both at the peak of the nascent soul realm. Once they took action, they instantly caused an earth-shattering explosion. The loud noise was like thunder, deafening, and the aftermath of terrifying power swept away in all directions. Wherever he passed in an instant, the ground collapsed, cracks appeared on the mountain walls, and thick smoke billowed all around. Shen Shucho hid behind the rock, protecting Hu Baibai in his arms, and was not in a hurry to get out. The heavy smoke dispersed, and Yu Lingwan's delicate red shadow still stood in the sky. Young master is really cruel and has no mercy at all. Yu Lingwan looked at the powerful Song Yuhuan sadly. Song Yuhuan immediately snorted. I only have junior sister Zuo in my heart, not a witch like you. While speaking, Song Yuhuan glanced at Zuo Shu, but saw that she had no other expression. Song Yuhuan felt dark in his heart. He had liked his junior sister for so many years, but he had never received a response. Is Shen Shucho really so worthy of your liking? Song Yuhuan thought of Shen Shucho's figure, and jealous anger emerged in his heart. Oh, it seems like your little junior sister cares about others. Yu Lingwan didn't mind the matter and was still joking from the sidelines. I want you to die. Song Yuhuan, who was poked in a painful spot, suddenly felt like a furious lion, with a terrifying aura bursting out. He was about to kill Yu Lingwan again. Yu Lingwan smiled sweetly, not tangling with him, and the red figure moved away. A wisp of fragrant wind fell beside Shen Shucho, and a jade hand rested on his shoulder. A voice that exhaled like orchid came to my ears. Young master has been watching for so long, but you still don't want to come out as a hero to save the beauty. Maybe I will give you my life. This voice was full of resentment, yet not lacking in a hint of ultimate charm. Zheng, the sound of swords exploded. A sword energy slashed out instantly. Yu Lingwan's charming figure dodged away in a breath. Another heartless man. Not only did he not save others, he also killed them with a sword. My heart aches. Yu Lingwan covered her chest and smiled sweetly. I have nothing to do with you. Shen Shucho said lightly. Zuo Shu, who was originally calm, suddenly trembled when she heard this familiar voice again. Her eyes were fixed on the place where the words were spoken, and the next moment the figure she had longed for walked out. But when she saw Hu Baibai in Shen Shucho's arms, Zuo Shu's eyes flashed with evil intent. Long time no see, junior sister Zuo, senior brother Song. Shen Shucho said to the two of them. Senior brother, long time no see. Zuo Shu's tone was slightly trembling, and there were faint tears in her eyes. She wanted to throw herself into her senior brother's arms, but that warm embrace was currently occupied by another person. If you didn't tell me, I would have forgotten that I still have a junior brother. I thought that my junior brother was already dead. When Song Yuhuan saw Shen Shucho's figure, he mocked. Shen Shucho smiled slightly and did not refute Song Yuhuan's words. Hey, you guys are still together, oh. Listening to the conversation between several people, Yu Lingwan's beautiful eyes widened. Zuo Shu was undoubtedly happy to see Shen Shucho again. She did not expect that Shen Shucho would actually come for that fake letter asking for help. So she still had a certain status in Shen Shucho's heart, which made Zuo Shu happy. Shen Shucho was lured here in order to kill the little girl in his arms. As long as the little girl is killed, the senior brother will come back to her again. This incident almost became Zuo Shu's inner demon after she left Shen Shucho's forest courtyard 5 years ago. She always wanted to kill her and take her senior brother back, but Feng Yangxi always said that the real time had not yet come. Now 5 years later, her chance has finally come. Zuo Shu is now in the middle stage of nascent soul, and not even her senior brother can stop her. Zuo Shu didn't care whether her senior brother would hate her for this, she always had only one purpose, to kill her and get her senior brother back. Even if her senior brother hates her, as long as she comes back to her, even if she hates her. As long as you can see your senior brother every day, it doesn't matter if you hate her. Everything she did was just to save her senior brother, and she was not wrong. Zuo Shu could hardly bear it anymore, and the killing intent filled the sky. In an instant, a long sword appeared in Zuo Shu's hand, exuding a sharp aura. Senior brother, do you still remember this Sauvignon Blanc? Zuo Shu's face was flushed and she stared at Shen Shucho with sick eyes. Just when Sauvignon Blanc appeared, there was a sword intent surging in the sword box behind Shen Shucho. Looking at the Sauvignon Blanc in Zuo Shu's hand, how could he not know it? Zuo Shu's Sauvignon Blanc is a pair of swords, and the other one is in Shen Shucho's sword box, named Lei Wuan. Senior brother, I will use Sauvignon Blanc to save you today. Zuo Shu stroked the sword and said foolishly. Why do you and I have to come to this point? Shen Shucho sighed. He didn't want to fight Zuo Shu. Although he guessed that Zuo Shu was a part of Hu Baibai's growth, he didn't expect that this part was so crucial. Then he put Hu Baibai down from his arms, and the sword box behind him hit the ground heavily. In an instant, a powerful sword intent spurted out from him, spreading like a torrent between heaven and earth. Shen Shucho's aura suddenly changed, like a human-shaped sword. Yu Lingwan, who was about to leave, was suddenly shocked by this sudden scene. With the rising sword intent, Yu Lingwan actually felt a hint of fear in his heart. The young man in front of her was only at the Golden Core realm, but the sword intent emanating from him could actually make her, a person at the peak of the nascent soul realm, feel scared. Yu Lingwan's eyes flashed with strong interest and he simply didn't leave. He looked at Shen Shucho curiously. Senior brother, are you going to stop me for a demon clan? Zuo Shu said with a tremor in her heart. As soon as these words came out, Yu Lingwan was even more surprised. In Yinliu continent, the incompatibility between men and monsters has been a rule that has not changed for thousands of years. Even evil sects like her Maiden Palace did not dare to get involved with the demon clan. The young man in front of him was actually accompanied by a demon clan. We have different paths, so we don't want to work together. Shen Shucho said lightly. Haha, such a good person who doesn't get along with each other. Senior brother will be fine. Once I kill her, you can come back to me, even if you hate me. Listen, Zuo Shu's heart felt like a knife twisting after hearing Shen Shucho's words. Junior brother, if you kill her with your own hands now, there is still room for reversal. Song Yuhuan said from the side. Although he doesn't like Shen Shucho, he is still Feng Yangxi's disciple after all. Let's go together. Shen Shucho shook his head. This battle was inevitable. If you are stubborn, I will teach you a lesson for the master. Song Yuhuan snorted coldly and immediately slapped Shen Shucho. A powerful force like a mountain was suppressed instantly. There are no traces of tears. Shen Shucho read softly. The sword box on the side opened, and a flash of sword light rushed out. The bright sword light illuminated the gray falling sun valley. In this thrilling moment, Lei Wuan's sword intent shot out like lightning and collided with that terrifying palm. Boom! The void seemed to tremble, making a deafening roar. In an instant, Shen Shucho's body was knocked back violently by the terrifying force. A deep crack was dragged under his feet, and a mouthful of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Owner, brother, Hu Baibai's voice sounded at the same time as Zuo Shu. Hu Baibai grabbed Shen Shucho's hand with a panic expression. Why did you hurt him? Zuo Shu looked at Song Yuhuan with a scowl on her face. Master, why don't we stop fighting? Baibai doesn't want anything to happen to you, so how about we leave here? Hu Baibai worriedly supported Shen Shucho and said. I'm fine for nothing. No one can hurt you today. Shen Shucho comforted him softly. Only by stopping him will he not be able to protect the demon clan, and then you will have the chance to kill her. Song Yuhuan's eyes were cold. But you can't hurt him either. Zuo Shu looked at the injured Shen Shucho with a worried look. What do you like about a loser who gave up his future for a monster clan? How am I inferior to him? Song Yuhuan was also angered by Zuo Shu's repeated concern for Shen Shucho. He is not useless. Maybe you are good, but I only have him in my heart. Zuo Shu replied without hesitation, the love in her eyes almost bursting out like a spring. Okay. In that case, let's see how long he can last. Song Yuhuan spoke coldly. The next moment, an even more powerful force broke out in Song Yuhuan's hands. The terrifying sense of oppression was approaching Shen Shucho like a dragnet. Shen Shucho quickly pushed Hu Baibai away, and Lei Wuan's sword intention rose into the sky, holding up the light of the rainbow and slashing at the powerful force. Light Spirit, Ice Soul, Star Cutting. As soon as Shen Shucho finished speaking, 3 more intense sword lights bloomed in the sword box. For a moment, the battlefield was filled with rays of light and sword aura, which together with the terrifying palm wind formed a thrilling visual feast. The collision between the two produced countless tiny cracks, which spread rapidly, as if to tear the entire space apart. Boom! A shocking loud noise erupted in the falling sun valley. The terrifying energy aftermath spreads into the distance, like a storm that destroys the world. Wherever it passed, rubble exploded and splashed, and terrifying cracks extended along the mountain. Shen Shucho's figure was blown away by this terrifying palm and hit the rock wall hard. For a moment, blood spurted out from the corners of his mouth, his face became extremely pale, and his internal organs seemed to be squeezed together. After all, the gap in strength between him and Song Yuhuan was too big, and Song Yuhuan did not choose to hold back this palm. Owner, Hu Baibai's pretty face turned pale, tears blurred in her eyes for a moment, and she ran to Shen Shucho frantically. I'm fine. Shen Shucho looked weak, but he didn't forget to reach out and touch the fox's white face. Looking at Shen Shucho who was injured again, Zuo Shu felt a heart-wrenching pain in her heart. There was a hint of unbearability in his eyes, but when he saw the two people's closeness, his eyes were filled with evil spirit and he said, Senior brother, why do you just refuse to accept me? How am I worse than this monster clan that everyone shouts about beating? What's the reason for this? Quote. Hu Baibai raised his little face blurred by tears and looked at Shen Shucho blankly. Hu Baibai is not some monster that everyone shouts about. She is the most important person in my life. Shen Shucho looked at the little fox Bai Bai softly, his eyes full of tenderness. Woo, master. Hu Bai Bai plunged into Shen Shucho's arms and tightly hugged him with his two little hands. What about me, senior brother, what do I mean to you? When he saw Shen Shucho describing Hu Bai Bai as the most important person in his life, Zuo Shu couldn't help but roared impatiently. She really wanted to know what position she held in her senior brother's heart over the years. There was a look of expectation in those pair of flowing autumn eyes. Shen Shucho fell silent immediately, looking at the expectant Zuo Shu, sighing slightly in his heart. You are just my junior sister. There was no emotion in Shen Shucho's eyes, and it seemed that Hu Bai Bai could only be accommodated in those dark eyes. Shen Shucho had a premonition that he was about to die in this world. In that case, why not take this opportunity to completely end Zuo Shu's thoughts? He cannot accept kindness from anyone, nor can he give anyone a peaceful home. Now I can only show indifference, the colder the better. Boom! Zuo Shu's body staggered back violently, as if there was a thunderbolt in her mind. You are just my junior sister. These emotionless words were deeply imprinted in the depths of her mind. They were repeated constantly, stimulating Zuo Shu's soul. Hee hee, woo woo. Zuo Shu covered her face with her hands, crying and laughing. Shen Shucho's words were like a cold knife between the frost and snow, and the cold edge pierced Zuo Shu's heart. This feeling made her miserable. The years that my senior brother and I have spent are not as good as those of a demon clan descended from heaven, haha. Why are you doing this to me? Zuo Shu is obviously very well behaved. Zuo Shu can obviously call senior brother master. Zuo Shu can also have many babies with senior brother. But, why do you do this to me? What did Zuo Shu do to her? Zuo Shu suddenly raised her head, revealing a pair of scarlet pupils. The cultivation of the nascent soul realm bloomed like a rock spreading its wings, and the terrifying evil spirit raged like a violent storm in the falling sun valley. The murderous intention that shot straight into the sky enveloped Hu Bai Bai tightly, and the Sauvignon Blanc in his hand shone with an icy cold light. It's okay, junior sister, there is still a second senior brother with you. Song Yuhuan comforted him from the side. He glanced at Shen Shucho sarcastically as he spoke. The more he said this, the happier Song Yuhuan became. The junior sister is more disappointed with Shen Shucho, and he will have a chance. It doesn't matter Zuo Shu. After I kill her, senior brother, you will still be mine. How about we have a baby together? Zuo Shu ignored Song Yuhuan and stared at Shen Shucho greedily with a sick smile on her lips. Song Yuhuan's face suddenly turned ugly after being ignored. He didn't expect Shen Shucho to say that, but his junior sister was still persistent. Suddenly, Song Yuhuan suddenly noticed someone looking at him. But he saw a hint of sarcasm in Yulingwan's charming bright eyes. What's that look in your eyes? Song Yuhuan instantly became furious. My little girl just thinks that someone is as ridiculous as a clown. Yulingwan covered her red lips and sneered. Shut up. Quote, Yulingwan's words were like thousands of sharp thorns piercing Song Yuhuan's body. Looking at the embarrassed Shen Shucho, he had a bold idea in his mind. That is to kill him, take this opportunity to kill him. In this way, junior sister will not like him, and sooner or later, junior sister will be his own. Even if the master blames him, no matter what, we are all Feng Yangxi's disciples. Why does the master care so much about him, and why does his junior sister fall in love with him? Why? The murderous intention in Song Yuhuan's heart was as cold as the wind and snow. At this moment, Zuo Shu beside him was like an evil god, emitting a terrifying aura. In an instant, the terrifying sword light pointed directly at the fox and went away in vain. Shen Shucho sighed slightly and stood in front of Hu Bai Bai with his weak body. Ice soul, cutting stars, extreme abyss, broken river, light spirit, no trace of tears, weeping ghosts and gods. As the words fell, Shen Shucho's weak body seemed to be reborn, and a cold light bloomed in his eyes. Zheng. Inside the sword box, the sound of the sword resounded through the sky, echoing throughout the heaven and earth. Then 7 dazzling sword lights rose into the sky, and Shen Shucho stood there quietly. His body looked like the sharpest sword in the world at this moment. The surrounding air seemed to freeze because of this. Shen Shucho's black pupils were deep and sharp, as if he could see through everything in the world. The 7 flying swords bloomed with terrifying sword intent, like a raging torrent, sweeping away in all directions. This terrifying sword intent carries endless pressure, as if it is going to tear the entire world apart. In an instant, it collided with Zuo Shu's Sauvignon Blanc. Boom! The 2 sword intents struck together, and the void seemed to be shaken, making waves of low roaring sounds. Under the suppression of Shen Shucho's 7 swords, Zuo Shu was instantly blown away. The Sauvignon Blanc in my hand was trembling crazily, as if it was almost unstoppable. Shen Shucho, with his cultivation at the peak of the Golden Core realm, could actually surpass the mid-level nascent Soul realm at this moment. This sudden change instantly changed Song Yuhuan's face. His eyes were shocked as he stared at the figure standing not far away in the sky filled with sword intent. My throat felt dry for a while, and I couldn't say what I wanted to say. The shock in my heart was as self-evident as the sky falling. Originally, it was difficult for Song Yuhuan to accept when he saw that Shen Shucho had 4 natal flying swords. Now Shen Shucho still owns 3 natal flying swords, adding up to 7 natal flying swords. This powerful sword intention made Song Yuhuan feel a sense of fear in his heart. This was a force that could kill him. At this moment, Song Yuhuan suddenly understood why his master was so kind to him and why his junior sister was so devoted to him. Even Yuling Wan, who was watching the show not far away, had a look of disbelief on his face, staring at Shen Shucho with widened beautiful eyes. Possessing 7 natal flying swords, such qualifications are unheard of and unseen. What kind of person is this? At this moment, Yuling Wan became completely curious about Shen Shucho. A strange thought arose in her mind. If you have a child with him, how powerful will your qualifications be? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.